take a day off to go and take on the road. Now, I'm a spectator of my anyway. I'm looking to the bar. I'm parking, comes to the beach, so I phoned the office right, they think you in 5 before and it's like, not right, 5 before, so I went up there, and firstly I thought, yeah, I asked someone to do it without I had to try and get to that and saying I'll drive you around. So it's really no, that's right. So I'm sure that means I'll go pay that. And then I'll put things like big insurance. You did use free. So it's free. It looked like I've got all the lights, but I've also pressed the button. So on the button. So then I think a lot of it off. Yes, yeah. Anyway, you didn't give the second one, that's good. Right, so you took that to come back to the doctor looked at the first two, said, I think that's fine. So, no, what is taken for them? So, oh, yeah. So they've often sent it off to the TV, and I'm still waiting. But I would have thought that if, you know, so it's been a week now, so I would have thought that it's just a question of really they take their time, don't they?
Well, actually, normally it seems to be quite quick.
Yeah. But hopefully later the people might have some news. I can't see you really come to now. Now it's not from there. Now apart from being I'll tell them before.
I'm sure yeah, because I heard somebody mention it. The last second, we got a load of green flag. So I thought that actually I hoped it. No. I don't really have one really good to go back to this stuff. To be honest, I was surprised I gave one into because it doesn't. You've got a default flag, it's dangerous, you know what I mean? That's right. I mean, something that's appeared, I mean, it does seem to be taken with us. Yeah. You know, I think one of the things appeared, But they gave Wesley a new contract. I'll be honest, obviously Ken, so yes, Ken did make a contract. You know, 28 and yes, slow under one. In this game, it's still
Haven't done too much.
I mean, I said to him in my email, like in the last game, you got 82. First time I think it was
Yeah, just watching the line for the
Yeah, that's right. That's the thing. I mean, I've done things this, so you can go and see about it, mate. That'll be out the service anyway.
When she worked in defence, she was on the front office, and he got a 7-day wonder. He had to go in to report to the police station. When he was a young player, I think he was on his way back to training.
Hi, Brian. How are you? Okay, yourself? Yeah. Thank you. Down to there. Thank you. I signed you in. Thank you. I don't know what's happened to Nick this morning. I think he'll be here. He's very reliable. Good to have your priorities right.
Well, I was saying that players, the owner asked the players, I heard the story.
Right. Warwickshire to win by 6. Yeah, well, I predicted to end at 550. I had it down for a very narrow home win, but you may be right. I don't know. I think we'll be here most of the day, personally. We shall see. Yep.
There's lots of players that there's one playing on Monday. He absolutely stopped weeks for him. At the same time, he was the best player. So, we picked up starting that so, was that before the no, it's unique, right? I think I'm not sure how to say motion, but I'm interested in this guy. But, and there's room for X5.
Oh, that's not storage.
I didn't know.
I just heard you that, can you?
I would be that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's right.
Last one I possibly
I don't know, I don't do it. I don't know if I'm not.
I'll be honest, they get out of the speech.
Yeah, I know.
It's not finished. That's probably not right. I tell you what, I've never known any couple crowd as much as
Oh, hello, Nick.
Right. Unbelievable. You know, the cameras and stuff, that's what it is.
Oh, it's been half an hour. There was a remembrance service going on. Half an hour to get from the outskirts. From the where? From the outskirts into the ground. I was stuck in traffic. I was lucky it wasn't in my way though, because coming from opposite direction, coming in. Oh, so many windows. Yes, quite right. Yeah, 27 they said. Next door, barely a tea bag left. Very little milk, no biscuits.
Right. There's very little milk, I'll finish it off and then make how coffee already. And then I'll go and get some at lunchtime.
Yeah, well, I'll likewise to do that.
Have you had a coffee?
Yes, I've got one. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So yes, we are gathered for an unusual fourth day here at Chelmsford. Unusual because it doesn't often exist. Only once before has any of the previous 5 home games gone into a fourth day. The others either finished in 3 or on one occasion. In Hampshire's case, it finished in less than 5 sessions on day 2. The usual thing has happened. The umpire about 15 yards up from the boundary line, and meanwhile the batsmen walk past them and therefore are the first players to reach the middle. They are Liam Banks and Rob Yates. Liam Banks impressed everybody with the way he batted throughout the 25 overs of the 121 yesterday. 121 minimum overs to be bowled, 401 needed, further 340 therefore for Warwickshire. And be a moment or two before we have the first ball of the day. But Paul Newton here with Clive Eakin and Nick Leadhill. And Simon Harmer straight into the attack, predictably. Hasn't been as helpful a pitch for him as the previous Chelmsford pitches, and likewise the season's other leading wicket taker, also an off-break bowler, Jitan Patel, by his standards, bowled a lot of overs for the 3 wickets I think it was he took, so not easy for, or not as easy for the spinners here. We're starting with 2 slips, a back pad and a short extra. And Harmer is about to come round the wicket to begin hostilities. Oh, and this one pops up in the air and agonisingly just goes over Simon Harmer's head. I wonder if we might be looking back at that from the end of the day, because Rob Yates, the way he batted in the first innings, would have been a tremendous scout to get first ball of the day, and it literally arced just out of the reach of the leaping Simon Harmer there, and wasn't far away from Matt Quinn at mid-on either. Next delivery is played to Matt Quinn. 61 for 1, 67 for 1 I should be saying, up on the board. So 334 needed, correct myself from what I said earlier, 334 further runs needed for a Warwickshire victory. And Yates pushes forward at this delivery, taken on the pad, rolls out at the offside. And we've got 2 slips, and the so-called back pad is sort of like an old-fashioned silly mid-on. Tender scarter. Yates pushes a shade nervously forward, so nearly hold out to the very first ball of the day. And literally, if it had been about 6 inches lower, Harmer would have caught it. Just looped up in the air. One of those agonising ones where both bowler and mid-on, neither of them can quite get under it. As next ball is played back down the pitch, there'll be no run. Important to underline 96 overs minimum on the day, because if Harmer bowls all day, Essex would certainly squeeze out at least another 4 overs. As Harmer's in. Bowls, forward comes Yates, and the first over ends a maiden, and so nearly a wicket maiden. Of course, had Yates been out, we're not to know what the new batsman might have done, but certainly a very, very close shave indeed. And if Yates is 100 and something not out at the close of play, or just generally makes it a very good contribution to the Warwickshire score, then it will certainly appear to have been a narrow scrape. Just been talking to no one.
Well, yeah, that could be
many apologies for the fact that our line has dropped out, but hopefully you're hearing me now. We've had 1 over so far, bowled by Simon Harmer, a maiden to Rob Yates, who very nearly holed out to the first ball of the day, which looped back agonisingly just out of the grasp of the bowler as he leapt up to try and catch it. So, maiden over, 67 for 1. Apologies for the line dropping out at the start of the day, as here is the first over from the Hayes close end, and 4 runs straight away as Peter Siddle bowls a leg stump half volley, and the ever confident Liam Banks, judged by the way he played yesterday, has lost no time in dispatching it to the long on boundary, evading the dive of Aaron Beard, and 40 now, very good 40 to Liam Banks, 71 for 1. 330 more runs needed for Warwickshire, and so nearly a wicket for the first ball of the day. Apologies, you weren't hearing me at the time. And now Warwickshire, I wouldn't rule them out for a moment to take this game deep into the final session. There's a play and a miss here from Banks, and that was loose. And well, both batsmen have made a slightly loose start to the day, with Rob Yates just first ball, thick inside edge, leading edge really, that went back just out of the grasp of Simon Harmer. And now Liam Banks, having hit a handsome 4, not moving the feet, just slashing the ball outside off stump, could easily have edged it to any of wicket-keeper Adam Wheater, who is back playing. He didn't play in the final session yesterday, damaged hand, but he's back out there like a good one. 3 slips. Siddle bowls and falls again, hit back past the bowler. They go for a single. This time there wasn't quite as much timing in the shot from Banks, and what was very nearly a second 4 is commuted to a single with a diving stop by Aaron Beard at mid-on. 72 for 1. 329 more needed. Field switches over because we have a right-hand, left-hand combination here. And once I've done the BBC Essex update into the 11 o'clock news, I'll be joined by Clive Eakin at BBC Coventry and Warwickshire. And here comes Siddle around the wicket. Bowls, Yates turn around a little bit here, but survives. And just going to go into the news bulletin any second now. Very good morning, Lucy, and quite a sensational start to the day, nearly for Essex, because very first ball of the day, Rob Yates pushed forward to Simon Harmer, bowling from the river end, and the ball looped up narrowly just out of the grasp of the bowler as he leapt up, and not far away from Matt Quinn at mid-on either. Liam Banks has hit a handsome 4 from Peter Siddle to the long-on boundary, but then played a loose shot, could easily have been caught behind. So the net result is that Warwickshire have added 5 this morning. They're 72 for 1. Their target is 401 in a minimum of 101 overs. The 27th over is currently being bowled with Banks on 41 and Yates on 4. And I think this could be quite a long job all day for Essex to try and take these 9 remaining Warwickshire wickets.
So you may well be right, Paul, but if these two don't settle down, it might not take very long.
That is true, as this ball goes through outside off stump, but the luck has certainly gone with them so far this morning, and maybe they will settle down. It's 72 for 1.
It's not a very assured start, however they are still there, but that first Simon Harmer over was a worry from a Warwickshire point of view, because he can bowl all day, and seeing him off what would it be, 48 overs, I'd be asking an awful lot. And a beautiful sunny day, so I don't think there's any possibility of rain coming to the rescue of Warwickshire or Essex today. So we'll go through a finish. Warwickshire, of course, talking boldly about trying to win the game. I think the reality is they're trying to not lose it.
Well, if they don't sort of lose early wickets, the morning session is probably key here. Essex's then best chance of winning would be if Warwickshire were interested in actually going for the target. As Harmer's in and bowls, and falls a little bit of a leading edge from Liam Banks, goes back to the bowler having been off the ground briefly, 72 for 1.
Which is why I don't think Warwickshire will really go for it. I mean, look, they'll hit the bad ball or they'll take opportunities to score runs where they can get them, but I don't think they're going to be reckless about this.
Harmer's in, bowls, and the ball's played up to back pad. Ryan Fender-Scarter, 72 for 1.
I might be wrong. I mean, I've talked in the past about trying to win games rather than draw them. I just think the situation they're in here, I think, again, with Notts losing, they'll take a draw as a good result.
Harmer bowls, and this ball's pushed out into the offside. There's no run. A word, if you would, after the next delivery on the sort of roles of Jim Troughton and I believe Paul Farbrace, now an inspirational man in my book, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on that as this next ball is played out for no run into the offside.
Yeah, well, I'll do it at the end of this over and I'll give a bit more time to speak.
Fair enough. And Harmer bowling the third over of the morning, his second, River End. Tosses this one up, Harmer fields his own bowling, deflects it into the stumps, but Liam Banks, Rob Yates was careful to make sure he hadn't left his ground, 72 for 1. Got a slip, backward short leg, forward short leg, to the right-hander, tosses short mid-wicket. Lovely sunny morning, although the cloud is gathering a little bit, not threatening cloud, I hasten to add, as the last ball of the over is played up to Fender-Scarter at back pad, 72 for 1 in 28 overs.
Paul Farbrace has replaced Ashley Giles as sporting director after Ashley Giles for a second time went to England, just in time this time to take all the glory. But he probably deserves it because the keyboard warriors did not half come up with a lot of nonsense about him the last time he was with England. So as sporting director, he's basically overseen everything. So he does have a role with the first team, but also with the women's team and the academy and all the Warwickshire teams, whereas Jim Troughton is head coach who concentrates on the first team stuff.
Siddle around the wicket from the Hayes close end, and a single here to Yates. That's his first run of the morning, moves up to 5 and the score to 73 for 1.
So Paul Farbrace isn't at every day's play, he's at some. I haven't seen him here, but he doesn't do the end-of-day interviews as a general rule, not that he's trying to afford them, but just that's really the role of Jim Troughton. And I guess, in a way, the better the first team are doing, the less involved Paul Farbrace will be in the actual day-to-day first team stuff. But he's not shy to intervene if he feels he needs to. So that's the Farbrace is the overall.
Superb as Siddle's in. Bowls a little bit edgy, but perfectly safe for 4 runs down to the vacant third man boundary from the blade of Liam Banks, who moves to 45 and scored to 77 for 1.
I thought he was highly illuminating when talking about England and the World Cup and the various bits he did on 5 Live and with us as well. Fascinating insights.
Well, I think he's a top man, Paul Farbrace. I think he had a lot to do with England resurrecting their 50-over fortune. And it may well be, the impression I get from a distance, he's no far better than me, but 10 points on the board after 3 games, and that's not an easy situation to recover from for Warwickshire. Settles in and bowls to Banks, who leaves, and that on length really goes over the top of the stump, 77 for 1. But it seemed to me that the talk must have gone along the lines of hands up anybody who wants to be relegated this season, so we're all agreed we have to do something about it, and there has been a method to Warwickshire getting their heads down and battling their way through.
Yeah, the talk actually came after the second game, not the third, because actually the third, although they lost it, didn't get many points. They actually didn't play at all badly.
Yeah.
I keep saying it, sorry someone said, but it was an absolutely disgraceful pitch. Not deliberately, but it turned out to be a dreadful pitch.
Siddles in and bowls to Banks, drives, but without timing up to Fender-Scarter at mid-off, no run.
Groundsmen get, and have during the World Cup, they get far too much stick. In this particular case, I think the groundsman was encouraged to produce a reasonably sporting pitch, but only had about 2 days to do it, and ended up producing one that was rather too sporting for the bowlers. Anyway, that's an aside. It was after the defeat against Hampshire at home, and a pretty poor white ball campaign with a 50 ball that they had a big team power, big heart to heart, along the lines of what you said. And I'll come back at the end of this ball.
Siddle. Ace close ends. Bowls and lead outside off stump from Banks, no run.
And the message we got, that I think the players got, and also we got in some of the interviews afterwards, particularly after some of the white ball games and the coaching staff, is that there's only so much that we can say as a sympathy to these young players who are breaking into the team. There's only so much allowance we can give them. Ultimately, they're in the first team, so they have to do it, regardless of age, regardless of experience. And that message seems to have got across. So it's still a bit of a struggle for them, but they are much more competitive now than they were in those first two games. And I think the Bears have a much better T20 campaign than they did in the 50 over.
Here comes Siddle. Some returns, bowls to Banks, Banks to back cuts, 4 runs, and that takes the score to 81 up for 1. And within what will be a very good 50 if he gets there. Liam Banks hit very impressive indeed on 49. Rob Yates just added a single this morning, very nearly out to the first ball. He has 5, and Warwickshire are 81 for 1, which means that they need a further 320.
Well, it will be a maiden first-class 50 if Banks can get through. He's already on a career best, which is costing all these young lads money apparently. They have to get their round of drinks or the end of day meal every time they make a new career best. So Rob Yates must be getting losing an awful lot of his salary because he keeps getting career bests. Will Rose, I guess, will have had to pay out a little bit after his bowling performance.
Harmer in and taken on the pad, but clearly leg side, and they go through for just waiting to see if there is a signal of leg by there. No, there must have been a bit of bat in it, and the score goes to 82 for 1, and Yates will go up to 6.
It's going to be a real examination for us in particular. I mean, obviously Siddle's an examination, but once they see him off, I think it's all about Harmer, not deriving the other bowlers, but Harmer is the big challenge.
Comes in, bowls, gives us plenty of air, nice loop to it, but well played, confidently played, and there's an impoverished young man, because Liam Banks will be forking out right, left and centre tonight, and has reached his first class 50, and it's been a very good one.
It has. Played really positively yesterday, trying to play positively in the first innings, but as has often happened with him, he's got out when looking good, but this time he's managed to go on.
Harmer bowls for the left-handed Rob Yates, plays it down to Matt Quinn at mid-on, no run.
I think it's going to need one really long partnership for Warwickshire to frustrate Essex and to give them a chance of saving or even conceivably winning the game.
Harmer again around the wicket. Bowls the Yates, turn round a little bit here, leading edge, but all along the ground to Nick Brown in the covers, 83 for 1, no run.
If Essex do get held up, I'm sure they'll keep telling themselves. One wicket, particularly from Harmer, and more can follow fairly quickly.
Harmer again, bowls to Yates, and this ball is well stopped on the dive by Matt Quinn at mid-on. There's no run, and yes, you're right, because it's if you can get a partnership going, 2 men well set, the fielding side get frustrated, but a new batsman to the crease, there's a wholly different atmosphere for him to come into. As this next ball back cut, but fielded at backward point by Aaron Beard, no run, and yet another Harmer over is over before you can believe that 6 balls have been bowled. Warwickshire are 83 for 1, adding 16 without loss this morning, with a maiden 50 to Liam Banks and 6 to Rob Yates.
So of course we have to be mindful about saying 91 overs remain of the day. It's a minimum of 91 overs. If Harmer keeps bowling, they might get some more in.
They would do.
From Warwickshire's point, well, obviously Warwickshire need to try and keep scoring runs, because if they fall well behind the required rate to actually win the game, then Harmer can keep adding more and more men around the bat. So even if they don't really think they've got much chance of winning it, I don't think they have, Warwickshire will still need to try and keep the scoreboard ticking over, just to try and keep some of those close-in fielders away.
81 deliveries, 7 fours in Liam Banks' 50 as he comes forward to a good first delivery of a new over from Peter Siddle at the ace close end, play back to the bowler. emails to essex.cricket@bbc.co.uk. Now, we had 3 we didn't just catch before close of play yesterday. Benji Garfield said, as an Essex fan, I'm quite happy with the selection of players for the Lions match versus Australia, as it has worked out fairly well for them, with only Porter missing. Although, in all honesty, is it really fair that players are unavailable for their counties, which could be so key as the next ball is played to mid-off. There is no run, and he finishes up, also thanks for the great commentary today. Really great to listen during my long summer holiday after my A-levels. Well, well done, Benji. I hope you get the results you wish for.
Yeah, that's just the way it is, isn't it? Cricket is fairly unique on those lines. Well, not entirely unique. I mean, you get it in Premiership Rugby, for example. They lose players to internationals, sometimes even to training camps. So, no, it's not particularly fair, but it's just the way it is.
Siddle bowls to Banks, defends to mid-off. There's no run. 83 for 1. We're in the 4th over of the day. No, let's see. Just checking 6th over of the day. I can't count. We heard from Colin Seegers as well. He said, Ray, the comments that the batsmen are not crossed. This is a reference to the issue in the World Cup final. Did Stokes really run so fast that he certainly beat the throw to complete his second run, yet allegedly had not crossed when the fielder's throw was made with sufficient velocity to speed to the boundary with 4 byes? As Siddle comes in, bowls to Banks. Oh, he's a bit lucky here. He's edged it just past off stump and along the ground to cook it first slip.
From what I can get, by the way, it doesn't matter, folks. You know, if it was an error, it was an error. These things happen. England won the World Cup. It doesn't matter. But just for the record, I understand it, and I haven't seen the picture, but I understand that the TV does show that they hadn't crossed at the time the throw came in. I mean, Simon Tappel knows much more about the laws of the game than me. But having read the law, it does say at the time of the throw or the act. So could you make an argument for saying the act was the ball hitting the...
Yeah, here's the next ball. Siddle bowls, and Banks plays it defensively to mid-off.
So it's a slightly badly worded law, actually, because... are we talking about the time the throw came in, which obviously we are, according to Simon Tappel, who's saying knows more than me, or could you argue the act, and maybe that's how the umpires interpret it on the field, was the ball actually hitting Stokes' bat? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
It's all done and dusted.
They probably need to clear up for future reference.
Yeah, I think so.
Apart from that,
I think so. It's intriguing though. Paul Newton here with Clive Eakin, and Nick Gledhill will join us a little later for BBC Essex. Oh, here's a catch. That is the first wicket of the day. Peter Siddle has his man, Liam Banks, pushed forward a little tenuously. It took the edge and flew to Tom Wesley at 3rd slip. And Essex had the breakthrough. 83 for 2. Banks caught Wesley, bowled Siddle 50.
Yeah, pity from a Warwickshire point of view, but Siddle has looked good in this match and just got the edge there. And Banks playing a forward defensive edges it. Encouraging innings from him. He's done a decent job as opener. Whether he plays in the next championship game or not, time will tell, because obviously Sibley will be back, and so will Hayne. If Hose doesn't perform in the second innings, then Banks could conceivably get his place, because that was a decent performance from him, albeit hadn't quite managed to go on this morning.
No, I certainly think from his point of view, what matters a lot more than whether or not he continues in the team in the very short term is that he's looked a very good prospect for the future. Got what should be a long career in front of him, and played thoroughly well. It's one of those things as well. He was got out by a good delivery. Okay, you can say that he didn't quite get right over the ball and all this sort of thing, but Siddle's a very accomplished international bowler of great repute, and he didn't get out in a manner which leaves you saying, what on earth did he think he was doing?
No, absolutely. And he's got a nice maiden first-class half-century to his name, so well done, Liam Banks. But it's a big step towards victory for Essex.
And it's going to be Harmer. That was the last ball of the Siddle over. 83 for 2, so it's going to be you-know-who to bowl from the river end. 6 overs have been bowled today, 16 runs added. The wicket of Banks now taken. Rob Yates will be facing Simon Harmer, and Adam Hose has come in standing at the non-strikers end. Sunny morning. The sky's not quite as clear as they were an hour ago. Harmer is in. Bowls to Yates. taken on the pad, pitched outside leg stump, so no appeal. 83 for 2 up on the board. I've got 1 or 2 emails coming in this morning. We'll come to those in the end of this over, actually, because Harmer so quickly threw the over. And here, ball played to backward square leg, Aaron Beard. And no run there. 83 for 2 on the board. I think I caught sight of Ravibo Para, who kept out by a back problem for this game, but it looks as if he's back and around and may well play in the T20 tournament, starting on Thursday at Lords and continuing here on Friday against Surrey. No run here as Yates plays it to Matt Quinn at mid-on. 83 for 2. Banks, the man just out, caught Wesley, bowled Siddle 50. Straightforward catch. Third slip. Harmer bowls, Yates comes forward. Yates, who just got a bit of a leading edge first ball up, and it looped narrowly over Simon Harmer's head. It was very nearly a vital breakthrough first ball for Essex, but they now have one, though it's not this man, Rob Yates, who comes forward to the next ball. Gets well forward, does the right thing, and Dickey's inside edge goes to Peter Siddle. It is at backward square leg. And Harmer comes in again, bowls, plays it down to mid-on, Matt Quinn. Another maiden over from Simon Harmer, who have bowled plenty of those today. But after 32 overs, Warwickshire, needing 401 in a minimum of 121 overs if they're to win, are 83 for 2.
Yeah, still very much up against it, but and Paul Dini's this one, Adam Mosley looked really as if he was struggling, to be honest. Wasn't great to watch from his point of view. Felt for him in that first innings.
Going to be Peter Siddle to continue from the Hayes close end. Heard from Istanbul Steve. He says thanks again for all your sterling work in commentary. Looking forward to an Essex win. Fans fleeting hope there and topping the table. But what price on a tie with a super over? Settled on boundaries in the game. Currently Essex have 74 boundaries, Warwick 29, so some lusty blows required in 22nd innings to stand a chance. Second innings, I think he meant. And this ball takes the batsman Adam Hose on the pad. The first ball he's received and deflects out to Rishi Patel at mid-wicket. No run, 83 for 2. And Steve finishes off. Apologies very much, tongue-in-cheek. Thanks very much indeed, Steve.
Given that the 50 over coverage next season is going to be somewhat downgraded, not quite as much as some people are saying, by the way, but still somewhat, and I believe it's not even going to be official List A games, which I think is a mistake. I think they should correct that. But you think they're going to have to introduce a super over for tied games in that competition next season? We'll give it a little bit extra edge.
And Siddle's in bowls, takes the batsman on the pad. There's no run there, and score remaining at 83 for 2. And just to confirm it, it is in fact Will Battleman who's again replacing Adam Wheater this morning. Wheater, who was in great pain in the first innings. He was all right batting and all right taking the ball if he could prioritise the left hand to take it, but any time it went into his right glove, he was in considerable pain yesterday. So Will Battleman again with the gloves as Siddle is in, bowls, and Hose comes forward, plays it down to mid-off, Ryan Tenduscarter. It's 83 for 2. 6 runs to Rob Yates, and yet to get off the mark Adam Hose. The man out being Banks, caught third slip by Tom Wesley in Siddle's previous over for exactly 50, and very good 50 it was as well. 81 deliveries, 7 fours. Hadn't given a chance until he was out, and Essex sort of need early breakthroughs, not least because the top order for Warwickshire is very inexperienced, with Sibley and Hayne being absent as Siddle is in and bowls to Hose. What a cracking delivery, an off-cutter, darts back in sharply, catches Hose amidships, but would have been both ruled out for height and I think it was going down leg side, so no real appeal there. But the caveat for Essex would be, even if they get early wickets, that as you go down the Warwickshire order, you start to get really experienced pros of the order of Tim Ambrose, Michael Burgess, Chetan Patel, and et al., and they could well take more shifting than the top order, as here is Siddle again. Over the wicket. Bowles, that's a good delivery, and Hose was playing at that, misses it, goes over the top of the stumps. The score is 83 for 2. The Grumbler comes in. Hi chaps, I'm on the ground today. Buttleman is keeping, presumably because of Wheater's injury yesterday. Why was Pepper not drafted in? He is well rated, but Buttleman seems to get the nod more often than not. Regards to the Grumbler. Yes, I'm not sure. Michael Pepper came back for one game, but then got an injury. And I'm not sure if he's completely recovered from that. It may be as well that Buttleman is regarded as the better keeper, just as Pepper, on the evidence I've seen so far, would probably get the nod as a batsman. As here, Hose is off the mark, his first run in the match, as he plays the ball to long leg. And that is Matt Quinn. The over ends, they get a single, of course. 84 for 2. Hose has 1, and Yates has 6. And we have now had what would it be, 8 overs bowled today. Welcome to Nick Gledhill.
Yeah, morning Paul, morning everybody. Lovely day, warmer than yesterday, and a good start for Essex, getting that early breakthrough. Just to let you know that Somerset have lost their night watchman, Tim Grunwald, for 8 early on at Headingley. Now it's a big partnership. Banton 61 not out, Davis 12 not out. They're 182 for 5, Somerset, still 142 behind. But you feel this is a really key partnership for Somerset if they're going to have any chance of saving the game today.
Adam Hose is carefully taking guard, about to do battle with Simon Harmer. And Harmer just asking mid-wicket to take a stride or two in a different direction, but no material difference to the field, which is slip. Backward short leg, forward short leg, short mid-wicket. There's also backward square leg and a mid-wicket and a long on, heavily onside field, only 2 men in the offside. First ball, Hose plays back to the bowler, and the 2 men in the offside are sort of shortish extra cover and deepish mid-off. 84 for 2 up on the board. Target 401 in 121 overs. I shall make way at the end of this over to allow Clive to come back, as this ball is played firmly down to mid-off. There is no run there. 84 for 2, the 34th of the minimum 121 overs being bowled. And Harmer so nearly had Yates' first ball of the day. Ball just looping back agonisingly out of Harmer's reach. It's very tamely as well. It would have been a dolly catch had he been in the right position, but as a bowler he couldn't be. Here the next ball is played to short mid-wicket, Nick Brown, and the score is 84 for 2, 6 to Yates, 1 to Hose, who's just come in on the dismissal of Liam Banks. Court Wesley bowled Siddle. The Grumbler continues his email. Also right now we are without Porter, Cook, Bopara and Wheater from the usual first choice side. Huge chunk of the side. Harmer bowls and forward comes Hose. No run. If we're going to win the county champ title, we're not going to win it the easy way. Regards to the Grumbler. Always great to hear from you, Grumbler. Thank you very much indeed. And the emails are piling in. I'll ask Nick to take over that duty, because I'm about to vacate the seat here as Harmer's in bowls, and the ball is just played down the track for no run. We've heard from Steve Everett, George Farrer and Julian Hales. Thank you to you all, and Nick will be reading out your emails very shortly, but you'll appreciate not much time between Harmer deliveries. Takes him about 90 seconds to get through a maiden over as he comes in, bowls, and it is a maiden over as this ball is played back down the pitch. 84 for 2, needing 401 in the minimum 121, of which we've had 34, 68 and 1 to Hose. Nick Gledhill will be joined by Clive Egan.
Yes, thank you, Paul. I guess we'll read out this email from Steve in Istanbul. We'll probably find that we're not going to get anywhere if we carry on this discussion about the 6 or the 5 runs with the Stokes, because it is all over. It has already been decided. But Steve, thanks very much for getting back to us from Istanbul, saying thanks. Clive, you agree with Clive's thoughts about the Stokes throw, the 6 runs issue, and about the throw or the out. In a situation of a normal overthrow, the throw goes directly out or into the field, possibly off the stumps. So the timing of the throw is important regardless of the position of the batsman. And you say, but the throw hitting the grounded bat creates an act at the moment of the ball hitting the bat is therefore crucial. That's outside the off stump, and first ball of a new over from Siddle, and left alone by Yates. So you say that the the moment of the ball hitting the bat is the crucial part. The throw is superseded, hence there's no problem for Mr. Towfel and those making the point. The 6-run stand, logic is tough for some, it seems. So if the situation is reversed, the umpires would have done the same for New Zealand. Yeah, very, very complex issue. Thanks for that, Steve. The Siddle bowls, and Yates just covers up, plays defensively up into the offside. So many wise heads are saying, as my opinion too, it doesn't matter, the game is done and the winner's crowd move on. Yeah, and so that's, I think that'll be the point where we probably move on from this subject, because we could get stuck on it all day. Thanks very much for the comments on the commentary, Steve, and yeah, let's see if Essex can get the remaining 8 wickets, as you say. So, complex issue, but my word, wouldn't that be interesting if they tried to sort it out at the time? We'd have had about a 20-minute delay. Would have been amazing, wouldn't it? But anyway, it's all done and dusted. 84 for 2, with 1 wicket down this morning. It's just played defensively up into the offside. And it was Banks who played so nicely, actually. He was the man to go. Got to his maiden 50, couldn't go on. It's a really good, encouraging knock from his point of view in terms of the future for him. And Warwickshire do have young players coming through. Of course, lost Jonathan Trott. Ian Bell has been out through injury through the season. Hopefully will make a reappearance. But there are signs of some promising young players coming through, and also good reinforcements in terms of particularly the signing of Dominic Sibley. 2 slips in the gully waiting as Siddle goes round the wicket in bright sunshine and bowls Yates, who ducks underneath that. And he goes through to Buttleman, and just talking about Buttleman, George Farrow on the email saying he was at Headingley and very impressed with Buttleman, who was certainly kept tidily enough so far. And welcome back to Clive.
Hello.
Bright sunny morning, Clive, and yeah, disappointing for Banks because he did look so good yesterday, and at least got to his maiden 50, so from a personal point of view that was good.
Yeah,
he couldn't carry
I
on.
hope he's not too disappointed. It's as Paul said, it's not as if he got out to a soft dismissal. It was a good ball, which he edged. He did his job as opener. As the ball is played by Yates down to back of square leg for a single. What we said, we wanted to see Warwickshire get up to a good start. They did. They got a half-century opening stand, and Hospital rose, and Banks goes on to make 50. Of course, he looked to battle all day and be 180 not out at the end of the day, but I think that was an encouraging performance, and one that certainly ensures that I guess next time there's a vacancy, he will get to see whether he's involved in the T20. Let's see what the T20 team is, but Alan Moses is certainly playing for his place in the red ball team. I'm sure he will start in the T20 side, but if he doesn't make a score here, then I think Ian Banks might edge ahead of him for that middle order position once Sibley's back at the top order. However, Hose might go on and make a big score here. Siddle comes in to bowl to him, and he defends that into the ground. Siddle fields, I said before, he's terribly elegant the way he feels off his own bowling, Siddle, and he just sort of floated in the air and clung on to the ball one-handed. 85 for 2, 35 overs gone. It's a minimum of 86. If Warwickshire count those off, they might find at the end, when they think they've done it, they've still got a few overs to face. Simon Harmer getting through his overs so quickly.
Julian in Saffron Walden says, I'm enjoying the commentary with the video sync. Is there a reason the camera view is from only one end? Usually the camera switches at the end of the over. As it is, the view is obscured by the keeper and batsman when Harmer is bowling. It's a bit like watching TV on TV cricket in the 1970s. Yes. It's an old. I don't know what the reason is for that, but it reminds me of the old style covering the game.
Indeed, don't bother with the screen, just listen to us. We'll give you all the colour. That's a forward defensive, and it's back to Harmer, and there's no run. Yes, I remember that, didn't they? Just had a camera at one end, didn't they? And it was regarded as quite a novelty when they went for cameras at each end. Harmer comes in to bowl, and he comes down the pitch and moves his feet nicely there, Yates. A bit of excitement around the bat, but that was nicely played by Yates, and he's got 2 runs for it. The one thing about it, at least you knew which end the ball he was coming from. That was the only thing, the only sort of advantage of that old fashion. It's an old John Player League.
It's a stretch, and all that side of it is out of our control, so we can't give you any helpful answer to that other than the fact it reminded us of the old style way of watching the game.
87-4-2 Warwickshire. Yates pushes that one to the onside. Determined not to get too bogged down against Harmer. We saw him just move his feet to play a reasonably attacking shot. He doesn't want to just be, I don't think there's any great future in Warwickshire just trying to block everything that Harmer bowls at them. Harmer round the wicket, gives it plenty of air. He does block that one to the offside. There's no run.
Phil Warwickshire needs to be no more than 3 down really at lunch, I think, I feel, to have a decent chance of saving the game.
Yeah, although they were, I think, at least 5 down at lunch against Southampton. That's a 4 defence, there's no run, but some slightly different circumstances.
Well, I would say this pitch is more amenable to batting, I think, than anyone I've seen this season on this ground. You can survive on this pitch a bit more easily.
Slip a leg, slip a forward short leg. Yates makes room. It's a slightly short delivery from Harmer. He gets away with it. Yates plays it away well, but it's well cut off at backward point, and so he doesn't get a run for that piece of aggression. And 2 runs off the over, 87-2. Somerset now 6 wickets down.
All right, that's a big blow for them. Who's gone? Is it Banton or Davis?
They're going to lose that game, aren't they? I think 136 behind.
Yeah, that's all probably all up for them there now.
Should get a few matches finished results. Probably only Hampshire-Kent looks the only one likely the current round of matches to finish in a draw, not including the ones that are in their 3rd and 2nd days. Though actually one of the ones in the 3rd day looks certain to finish today. Well, Warwickshire, I've seen Peter Siddle off. They're now getting Quinn. Is it Quinn or Beard who's coming on?
Be Aaron Beard, looks like.
Aaron Beard, yes. Aaron Beard. To bowl the hose.
Sam Curran's had a pretty good game for the Lions. Got 50 as well as his all those wickets in the Australian innings.
There's a bit of competition for the bowling places. I sort of struggle to try and think who's going to open the batting. It's more about who's unlucky with the bowling, because there's plenty of bowlers who are stating a case to play.
I mean, it really is going to be quite a long selection meeting, I think.
Yeah. Beard comes into bowl. Right arm over, and that's going down the leg side, and Hose wants to take what I think would have been a bye there. We won't actually know because they didn't take it in the end. Yates wasn't convinced it was a safe one to go for.
I think the key decisions that need to be taken about the openers and whether Root's going to bat at 3. I still say that I think that it comes a lot easier to get a nicely balanced side if Root does bat at 3. And then of course where the board's going to play, because if he is, then you should work out who you're going to leave out.
I'm sure I see Broad getting into that team now.
No, I think it's hard.
Beard into bowl, and that's going to go down the leg side. Well taken by the wicket keeper. Just straying a bit down the leg side here. Beard's quite lucky to have got away. Then he wouldn't have gone for any runs, but the team would have done if it hadn't been for some good wicket keeping. First one half stop was enough to prevent a run. The second one a very good clean stop.
He might potentially play in some of the tests. We were talking about it yesterday, because Wood would be unlikely, perhaps on fitness record, to play in all of them.
But you think Curran could even be ahead of Broad now?
Yeah, particularly with his batting. And that's a key thing, because the England tail, with Curran not in the side, you're looking at Rashid or Moen at 8. Moen batting seems to have gone backwards quite a lot, and then you're looking at Wood, Archer, Anderson, getting quite a long tail there.
Beard into bowl, and that's driven into the ground by Hose, but to a fielder at mid-off. So Hose, who faced 25 balls for his naught in the first innings, he's on 1 so far in the second. He's looking, and I'm asking for trouble here, but he's looking a little bit more assured than he did in the first innings, where he just, anytime he tried to play at the ball, he missed it.
I'll be honest, I've never seen Archer bat. I hear he's decent, but of course he's rather unproven, isn't he, at top level.
Beard, right arm over again, balls, and Hose hits that into the ground, tries to find the gap, can't quite, and it is cut off there by Wesley. and it remains 87 for 2. Warwickshire's about just trying to dig in, trying to bat big, trying to do what they did do at Southampton. They know they can do it, but we don't want to think too far ahead, so if they do it might feel a bit daunting. Beard with 3 slips in place, and it hasn't come out the middle of the bat, it's gone to the leg side, and again he can't get a run hose. He's not getting too frustrated. It doesn't really matter. Yes, it'd be nice for Warwickshire to score runs, but I keep saying this is about saving the game, not winning it realistically. So doesn't get too worked up about not scoring runs.
Yes, Tom Banton, the man out to Steve Patterson for 63. It's a huge blow for Somerset. 192 for 6, 132 behind Yorkshire.
I suppose he could get ahead with that game. That would upset the home faithful here. So
It would. I think their chance would have probably gone with that wicket.
Beard comes into bowl, and that is dropped at second slip. An edge as he tried to sort of fend the ball away there, Hose. He's going to get a couple of runs for it, and I wouldn't say it was an easy chance, but it was certainly one that should have been taken, and it has been put down by Harmer, and Hose is fortunate. Encouragement, but also frustration for Beard, and Warwickshire 89 for 2 after 37 overs. Hose on to 3.
Harmer's probably thinking that's another hour's work I've got to do now. Interesting as to whether that might have gone as far as Cook at first slip. He was diving in front of Cook, just with the way that the slip called in his place. It's just possible that he felt he had to go for it, but it wasn't straight to him. He was having to move across to his left, but not that far. It was a reasonably comfortable chance, wasn't it, Clive? One he would have hoped to have taken.
Definitely, yeah. Definitely goes down as a big slip chance gone. Still allows Harmer to get more of the wickets. He floats that one up, and it's played to him, and there's no run.
Yes, he hasn't got to a stage where he's deliberately dropping catches off the seam.
No. That might be the silver lining if he goes on to get the wickets. Might owe Beard a little soft drink after the day's play. That one he blues up in the air, it's played back to him, there's no run.
What have a bowler ever done that? Thinking, we're going to win this game. No.
In comes Beard to bowl, and that's a lovely shot, straight down the ground by Yates for 4. The only thing that's going to stop that was the stumps at the other end, but it just missed them, it's gone for 4. I do recall a game, was it Liverpool? Ricky Clark was on a world record for the number of catches in the field, and we sort of suggested that I think one ball was spoon high in the air. Clark will go sprinting from slip and push everyone out of the way and try and take it. But
he has these purple patches, Ricky Clark, doesn't he, with bat, ball, or in the field.
I think he's the best slipper in the country.
He's a remarkable cricketer.
Yeah, outstanding slipper. Warwickshire certainly missed him in that department, in all departments, but certainly in that department since he left. Brilliant at second slip. Harmer comes into bowl, and that is caught. Yates has gone a forward defensive, and he's caught at slip. And Harmer, who dropped the catch in the previous over, albeit against the other batter, has now got Yates out for 13, and Essex are 7 wickets away from victory, 93 for 3.
Yeah, that's 2 very important blows for Essex this morning. The 2 participants in that very good second wicket stand, the 2 youngsters who've both gone, and Yates with a lot of promise, a lot of a prospect of a very good career, was looking good there, hasn't made too many mistakes, but Harmer has got him, and that could be the first of a little batch of wickets for Harmer today. And Warwickshire at 93 for 3 probably can't afford to lose any more wickets before lunch, and need to find a partnership to really dig in here. Essex will be very pleased with this first 45 minutes. They certainly have settled for getting rid of that overnight pair by this point, and which is what they've managed to do.
So Alison Cook taking a good low catch.
Yeah, nicely taken.
And 2 wickets this morning there for Essex, and the new man in is young Dan Mosley on first class debut, made 3 in the first innings.
Past the 60 wicket mark now, Simon Harmer, with that. for the championship in this campaign.
So, well, he's favourite to take a few more wickets, I have to say, here today. And who knows, this could be wrapped up fairly quickly, but we'll see whether any of the Warwickshire batters can cover. What an ass for young Dan Mosley, a teenager, and he's given a professional contract a matter of weeks ago. Now finds himself facing Simon Harmer here at Chelmsford.
I volunteered to buy a pint of milk for the press box next door at lunchtime, thinking it's going to be an all day. Might not have to now. I might have to. Might argue with 7 or 8 wickets down. We don't need it.
This next one, oh, he's gone first ball, and Harmer's on a hat trick. Disappointment for Mosley. You can see he's disappointed, but just nudged at that one, edged it straight to slip. And you feel for the young man. He will get plenty more opportunities, but that's a bit heartbreaking for him. He's gone for 93 for 4.
Curious one. It was just essentially the conventional off spinner, which more or less came off a sort of open face of more than anything else as he pushed forward at it and just steered it into the hands of slip. So Cook is on a bit of a roll. He might have felt he could possibly have caught the one that Harmer dropped in the previous over. He's now got a couple of wickets, and Harmer's on a hat trick, and of course if it were to be a catch to Cook, that would make it a very unusual one in that respect. But no, these are very big wickets for Essex to have taken this morning, and with Somerset having lost Banton, you really do feel it would be quite a major surprise now if Essex aren't top of the championship table going into the T20 break.
So Tim Ambrose marching out to face the hat-trick ball. Steve Harmer to bowl, and Somerset now 7 down. So these 2 matches could finish similar time, a bit further to go here, but at the moment you wonder whether Warwickshire will be able to offer much more resistance to Harmer. It's been a long old spell on the road for Warwickshire. They've battled, they've had some good results on their travels. Great win at York, very impressive draw at Southampton, but I think this one is probably going to be beyond them.
Long stint at home for Essex, 4 games out of 5, but they've won the lot. In fact, they've won the away game as well, so it's a terrific winning run.
So Tim Ambrose will just take his time. You don't want to be the victim of a hat trick. Getting an extra man in. Now there's 4 men quite close on the leg side. They've got a slip, a shortish cover, and then he's got a leg slip, a square leg, and he comes for the hat trick ball. Harmer, and it's resolutely defended by Tim Ambrose, who survives the hat trick, and it's 93 for 4 at the end of the 38th over.
Yeah, well bowled Simon Harmer, and that over should probably have settled things, but of course Warwickshire, they were in this sort of position a week ago and they got out of it. I think it's going to be a bit tougher today. Having seen that Aegeus Bowl pitch on Sunday, I can understand how a side could bat through a final day against a tiring bowling attack, but it's going to be much more difficult from here for Warwickshire to survive. But 2 crucial wickets for Simon Harmer to add to the one for Siddle, and a superb start for Essex this morning. Warwickshire have not been able to settle, and they've really got 3 crucial breakthroughs. Stephen Istanbul back in touch, just asking some questions. The weather, Steve, is fine today, warmer than yesterday, sort of bright sunshine for most of the day, just fair weather cloud. And you ask about the pitch, I'll come back after this ball.
Beard comes into bowl, and Hose has played a nice shot off his toes. It's gone down a fine leg. Maybe didn't go quite as square as he intended it to, so he just gets a single, but he does get it. And he's on to 4. So you're saying that rain isn't going to come and save Essex?
No, it doesn't look like it. Okay. And hopefully it's not going to interfere with the T20 on Thursday and Friday. It's a little bit of a dodgy forecast towards the end of the week, but the last forecast I saw didn't look too bad. Yes, asking about the pitch, as I say, this appears to have been one of the more batting-friendly surfaces at Chelmsford this season. I think possibly the most. But obviously Simon Harmer is a remarkable performer and can get something out of anything, and bounce is key, and he's got a little bit to work with there.
In comes Beard, and that's solidly defended by Ambrose, who is in need of innings. He's been a bit unlucky this season. He's been run out 3 times, and not always of his own doing. he made a contribution at Southampton. He sort of started the beginnings of the fight back for Warwickshire without making a really big score, and likewise in the first innings he did hang around a bit, contributed a little bit, but since that century in the opening match of the season against Kent, he's been a little short of notable scores. He clips that one to square leg, he won't get a run there, and there is no run. 94 for 4.
It's a pitch, this one, that certainly hasn't got any more difficult for batting. You look at the scores in the game and see that the Essex second innings was the high score of the match so far, and I think it's just really a testament of the skill of Harmer, the fact that he managed to get those 2 wickets after having to sort of work quite hard to get his first one. Managed to get those 2 off consecutive deliveries, and that might start to be a role for him this morning.
Bid in, and that's neatly clipped off his toes by Ambrose. That's a lovely shot through mid-wicket for 4. So Ambrose is off the mark, and Warwickshire 98 for 4.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris Grant, about Michael Pepper. He's actually playing for the second stage, not keeping wicket. That suggests that he's not yet fit enough to keep for the first team, hence why Will Buttleman is substituting for Adam Wheater. And when you sent your email, you said before the 2 wickets, obviously for Harmer, hard work needed by the bowlers for Essex to win today, and they've done quite a lot of the hard work already, Chris, but thank you very much for that update on Michael Pepper.
Beard in, and Ambrose just turns it around to square leg, takes the pace of the ball, so the man's in the deep there, so he's able to get a single. It's good work that way, Ambrose. He hits a 4 through mid-wicket, so the field at mid-wicket drops back, so he runs the ball short, so he's able to get through for 1, take advantage of that fielding change. So he's on 5, 99 for 4. And Beard will bowl to Hose, who he should already have had out. It's a chance dropped at second slip. Beard into bowl, and Hose solidly plays that onto the leg side for no run. A beautiful sunny day at Chelmsford, decent crowd in as ever, in anticipation of a home win, and they progress to that. So far, with the dismissals of Liam Banks falling to Peter Siddle for 50, then in successive balls, Rob Yates for 13, Dan Mosley for 0 first ball, both to Simon Harmer, and Warwickshire need another 302 if they believe to win. They are 99 for 4.
Yeah, you said about Hampshire looking like a draw. Hampshire have just taken the lead down the Ageas Bowl, 143 for 2, and they've got Ian Holland there on 56 not out. It's in a great run of form.
It's from Harmer, and Ambrose misjudged that one somewhat, tried to chop at it and just about managed to fend it away.
And Somerset 197 for 7 with Dominic Best, the last man out, to Patterson, who's got a couple this morning. Best made 4, 201 for 7, the latest now, still 123 behind.
Comes in now, Harmer, and that's a 4 defensive by Ambrose.
And looking in Division 2, looking good for Durham, Middlesex and Northants to wrap up victories today.
So in comes Harmer, quicker ball, that's defended. Try and work out the how the table is going to look.
At the bottom or the top?
At the bottom.
I thought first.
We'll do the top in a bit.
Yes,
but,
I think the top will be. Essex should be 4 points clear, I think.
Harmer comes into bowl, and that's played to backward point for a single by Ambrose, and that's 100 up for Warwickshire. Slightly traumatic 100, but they're there. And I'll give you the figures on that in a moment. Harmer comes in to bowl, and Hose plays that nicely to our point. He won't get a run for it though.
I think the gap would be something like 38 points.
It will be 38. I'll come to that in a moment, but it will be 38 between Warwickshire and Notts at the bottom if Warwickshire lose this game. This next one is played onto the onside for no run. The 100 came in 238 balls, which means the second 50, in which they lost. Actually, all 4 wickets have fallen in that second 50. Has taken quite a long time, unsurprisingly, under the circumstances. It's taken 138, 164 balls. Second 50, the first took 78. So they slowed down, but that's not surprising. So we know obviously that Surrey have already beaten Notts. The other one is Kent v Hampshire, which various results still possible, but it's looking a likely draw in that game. I just need to work out the bonus points on that, which I'll do in a minute. In comes Beard to bowl to Ambrose, who turns that round to mid-wicket.
Neither of those sides are going down, though, are they?
No run. Probably not.
I mean, honestly,
I think, well, certainly not Hampshire. I mean, Kent's probably still have a little bit of work to do, as Warwickshire and Surrey, but they're well on course to.
Nottinghamshire have got an awful lot more work to do.
Well, they have, but you know, it can happen. As I keep saying, Warwickshire did it. Warwickshire did it a few years ago, and we sort of joked, well, they win the last 3 games, they'll survive, but obviously they won't. Well, they did. So, and with Ashwin in their side,
they normally get worse as the season goes on. That's the odd thing.
Yeah, well, they can't really get worse this time, can they? That one's clipped by Tim Ambrose down to fine leg for a single. Gosh, they scored their runs quickly in the first innings, did Kent, so they did get maximum batting points.
Black wicket.
And see how many bowling points they got. Probably not very many. They just missed out on maximum bowling points, so they're going to get quite a lot from that draw. If it is a draw, they will take 12 points from it. So by my reckoning, Notts will be bottom on 48. Now this really irritates me about tables on websites, and the BBC is as guilty as cricket. Sometimes they have the bonus points, sometimes they don't.
The BBC one doesn't.
Well, it has.
It does, but you have to know where you are.
It has added the bonus points.
No,
it hasn't.
No,
maybe I do.
No,
I do them.
I've worked out Cricinfo system. You have to work up a little asterisks.
And they usually add them at the end of the innings,
yes.
but they're not consistent with it. That's the problem. Beer comes in the bowl, and Hose leans back and guides that through the offside for a single. So, let me apologies to the BBC website. You are absolutely right. They haven't added them yet. So Warwickshire. So Notts on 48 points. Warwickshire will be on 86 if they lose, which means they will be 38 points clear of the bottom, which is what they were at the start of this round of matches. Kent, who started. Well, Surrey, of course, started just a couple of points ahead of Warwickshire. They've already leapt up to 105, so Warwickshire are going to be 19 points behind Surrey. That's turned round his paths by Ambrose. Slight misfield allows him to get a run he shouldn't really have had. 103 for 4. Kent are going to get 12 points, so they're going to be back up into 5th on 116, so they will be 30 points clear of Warwickshire. So really Kent beginning to come out of sight. Sorry, just about still within touching distance, but Kent and Hampshire will be fair way clear. And of course at the other end of the table, Essex will get 20 points from this game.
Key thing is
if they win,
a 4-point lead if they win and Somerset lose.
He comes in to bowl, and that's chopped down by Hose for 4. Good shot. Short delivery from Beer, but Hose played it down very well. So Essex will be on 169. Somerset will be on 165. But Yorkshire will get, I think, 22 points. So they'll be on 131. So they started 40 points behind Essex. They'll actually close the gap slightly to 38. So just be slightly mindful.
Well, of
Yorkshire.
course, it might pour with rain in the West Country for 4 days in late September, and Yorkshire will come smoothly through the middle.
Or they might cancel each other out,
yes,
of course. If they both need to win, that sometimes happens. 2 slips in place.
And Yorkshire's still got just a chance, you're right.
That's all that kept low, and Hose plays it well. Basically, they have to probably win 2 more games than Essex
Yes.
and Somerset, but there are 4 to go. So,
Yeah.
you know, if Essex win 2 of the remaining games and Yorkshire win 4, then there won't be much between them. So I warn you to be wary of the men up north.
Well, yes, indeed. They've actually, when they've been hot, Yorkshire, and they've been hot in this game, haven't they? So and Somerset have found out. Michael in Pudsey, nice to hear from you. Having watched Aaron Beard on the live feed several times this season, I've been impressed with his bowling, lots of energy and bustle, and generally a good line while swinging the ball at a sharpish pace. A great prospect for Essex. Let's hope he continues to prosper and improve. And we mentioned his excellent strike rate and average yesterday, Michael. I just realised that I hear Clive in the winter as well when I visit my in-laws. This is presumably on the radio rather than anything else. My father-in-law is a Coventry supporter, and he often has the match on the radio in the background when we visit at the weekends. This is Harmer coming in to bowl, and that's outside the off stump, and there's no shot offered. Although I'm a Hammers supporter, I always keep an eye out for the Sky Blues results as well. I thought Clive's voice sounded familiar when I first heard him in a cricketing context on the first day of the match. So thank you very much, Michael. And you say that great start from Essex. Somerset floundering a bit, you're right, very much so. That's outside the off stump and left alone with no shot there being offered. And really Warwickshire in a very difficult position. Certainly can't afford to lose any more wickets before lunch, and they've got to find a pair that will just stay in there for 3 hours and just block everything, as this is cut away off the back foot down towards backward point, but there's no addition to the score this time. So thank you very much indeed for that, Mike. And yeah, there's a nice mention of Coventry there.
To know if you've mentioned that Somerset are now 8 down.
And now 8 down, so it's going to be a very heavy defeat there.
Yeah, Davis out.
Oh, that's caught. That's caught in the leg trap. It was just a little push, and it's actually just flown off the sort of inside edge of Ambrose's bat to backward short leg. And Warwickshire are 5 down. He's gone for 8. Hose is 9, but that's 3 wickets for Harmer this morning. And suddenly, where yesterday Harmer, whether he wasn't quite at his best or whether it was just an indication that the pitch was one of the more easier to bat on this season on the ground, Harmer's been at his most menacing best this morning, and he's just bowling his classic deliveries, which are drifting and causing problems. We've seen one catch basically by Cook that was just off a sort of open face, and that was a typical catch in the sort of leg trap for the off spinner, just drawing the stroke and just deflecting up and into the hands. Classic stuff. Dan Lawrence, straightforward catch for him. Wicket going down at 107. It's 107 for 5.
Yeah, well described. I think Ambrose, a very big wicket to get, because he has the experience, showed it in the first innings, to have been one of the leading suspects that Essex needed to get out, or might find a real stumbling block. So that's a very big wicket. As you say, it was just a classic little bit of turn, inside edge, caught round the corner by the man I interviewed at the close of play yesterday. Always enjoyed talking to Dan Lawrence. 135 runs in the match for him. He said he was looking forward to the T20 competition. But as you rightly say, previously in the match, Harmer had not quite looked his normal invincible self, but this morning he looks like a guy who went to bed, had a thoroughly good night's sleep, got up in front of the mirror and said, come on man, you know, you've got to do it again. And he has done. He's got 3 of the 4 wickets to fall this morning, the other going to Siddle, that of Banks for exactly 50. Job not yet done, because Warwickshire have inexperience at the top of the order and more experience lower down, but Ambrose was part of that, and he is now back in the pavilion.
So now it's Burgess who's at the crease. As a slip and 2 short legs and a short mid-wicket. Oh, he plays a very ambitious shot. He tries to pull his first ball and very nearly chopped it onto his stumps. I think he's actually just chopped it straight onto his pad. But my word, that was ambitious. He saw that one, tried to go on the pull shot, and was rather fortunate not to just put it straight into his stumps, which would have given Harmer a second 2 from 2 in the morning. He bowls now, and that's again a delivery that drifts and interests the backward short leg again, because it was one that he had to be very careful and just kept the bat out of harm's way. But classic stuff from Simon Harmer, it really is. And he's got 3 this morning, another one of course to Peter Siddle, and the wicket that went down last night. So that was to Aaron Beard. So 107 for 5, with 9 to Hose and no score to Burgess.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether you said kept the bat out of harm's way or
Yeah,
harmer's way.
Both cases, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You can have it either way there. Nice bit of keeping by Will Buttleman there to take it down leg side and whip the bails off. The batsman hadn't left his ground, but that'll give the young fellow confidence. Keeping because Adam Wheater damaged a hand. It'd be a moot point. I wouldn't think Wheater would play in the first couple of T20 games. Not for me to say. I wish him well, but he looked in quite a bad way actually with his right hand.
Yes, it might be, but he's going to end up missing a lot of the white ball cricket this season. We don't know how long he will be out for, if at all, but obviously he's not fit to keep at the moment, as this is played defensively, head right over the ball by Hose, who really is Warwickshire's main hope now. Beard is on at the Hayes close end, and that one just played defensively, but I do fear that the damage has been done from Warwickshire's point of view. Excellent stuff from Essex this morning, particularly Harmer, though of course it was the initial breakthrough came from Siddle, and Michael Biswell's been in touch saying Essex seem to be doing the job, hope they don't drop any more catches. Luckily that hasn't mattered too much so far, in the sense that the wickets have come with a flurry. You say Stuart Broad only bowled 11 overs rather in the first innings and didn't bowl at all in the second innings against Surrey. That's because most of the overs, of course, were bowled by spin in that game. That's one point we should make straight away, as this is a cutaway off the back foot and a good-looking shot there by Hose for 4, down towards the backward point boundary. It's gone to 111 for 5.
Have Essex put a catch down this morning?
There was a drop by Simon Harmer at second slip going in front of Alistair Cook. Relatively routine, but Harmer then promptly took 2 wickets in his next over, which is if I better get my act together, I'm going to show him what I can do.
Yes.
I'm no good in the field, but he is actually all right, but he had a bit of a miss, and then he showed what he could really do.
Act of atonement.
Yes.
He's normally absolutely rock solid in the slips.
It might have gone to Cook. It was a difficult one. He was diving across. Yeah. Cook is obviously a little bit further back, but yes, it didn't matter too much. Yeah, of course, that has been a spin-dominated game, the one at Trent Bridge, but you're right to point out Broad hasn't bowled many overs, and Anderson went off injured, of course, in the last game that he played. This is delivery going down the leg side, attempted leg glance from Hose, and there's no run. So it's possible that England will have a completely new opening pair bowling in the Test match against Ireland.
Yeah, it is. Just to let you know, by the way, I've repaired the lacuna in our milk and tea bag supplies. So you were saying you had replenished them, but I've already done that.
Oh, right. That's very kind of you. That's another 89p saved, and that's the most generous price I would have got. Anderson was asked about his injury, and he said it was quote, it was an old bowler's injury, he said, which implied that hopefully he was going to be back fairly soon. This is played off the back foot by Hose up into the offside, and there's no run, and Beard fields in his follow through. So hopefully no great damage done. Wait to see if he's fit to play against Ireland. But say with Sam Curran in the wickets, in the tour match, it's another player that, of course, would very much come into the equation. The one thing Curran would do is just lessen any concerns about the length of the England batting lineup, of course, if he was in there at number 8.
I like Sam Curran. I'd be very keen on putting him in, because he's got a great temperament, and he's so good when England have got their backs up to the wall.
Interesting to see he plays one of sort of 4 seamers or 5. That's played defensively up towards mid-wicket, and there is no run, because England have got such a luxury of choice, bring Roy in as an opener. I mean, you could say purely on county form this season, you stick Balance in at 3 if Root wants to bat at 4. The easy option is you play Balance at 3, and if not, Denley. But I still think, realistically, are you going to drop any of Stokes? Certainly not. Bairstow probably not. Butler probably not. One of them, of course, is going to keep wicket. If all 3 play, then others are going to have to miss out or not get a chance. And 111 for 5. Here is Beard bowling, good pace, and that's played up, head right over the ball by Hose, up towards mid-wicket, and there's no run.
Yeah, I personally think Balance, I know he's had 2 goes, but he did extremely well when he first came in. He's in great form this season. I'd very seriously consider him, not least because if you go, as I think they may well do, with Burns and Roy opening the batting, you've got left-hand, right-hand, so it wouldn't necessarily go in this order, but if you then have a left-hander at 3, right-hander at 4.
Root.
We now come to Stokes at 5, another left-hander, right-hander at 6, Butler. I think it messes up the opposition a lot of the time.
Then you have Butler keeper presumably, so Bairstow, where does he fit in?
7. He's
and
brilliant,
then
number 7.
You've got if you're going to play a spinner, you probably want to play Chris Wokes for what he produces with the ball. With the ball
yeah,
and bat.
definitely play Chris Wokes.
It's just, I think it's hard to find a place for everybody. This is Harmer bowling, and delivery that just drifts into the right-hander, but Burgess negotiates it okay. He's got 3 men round the bat.
Although Bairstow wouldn't want to bat as low as 7, he's got a lot of runs in that position, and he's certainly better there, I think, than number 3.
Absolutely, as Harmer bowls, and that's just played defensively up into the offside, and there's no run. Yeah, I mean, this is where the problem comes in, because with Root batting at 4, it just creates a few more problems, because if you've got the 5, 6, 7 Stokes, Butler and Bairstow, if you're going to play a spinner and you're going to play Wokes, this is a delivery which is pulled away up towards deep square leg for a single. Only leaves you with 2 more places left in your 11, and you're looking at Anderson and Archer, and then you've just got Wokes and Stokes. So it really is tricky, Paul. And for me, most of the selections that work for England with a balance of their side, wanting to keep those 3 big guns in the middle, Stokes, Butler and Bairstow all on the side, have Root at 3. We have Root at 4, it starts to create some problems with balance of the side for me. But Harmer bowls, and that's all edged, and this time it goes to ground and goes out towards short fine leg, and there's no run.
Another alternative would be to play Bairstow in the 50 over opening partnership with Roy. It doesn't sound that convincing, but England played so many plodders in the hope of finding a partner for Alistair Cook, and none of them really worked.
This is swept away in the air, and that is caught by Patel at mid-wicket. Very nice catch, actually, low down. He just didn't have to move really, sized it up, and in the end took a very comfortable catch, and that is the end of Hose. It was a pull drive really, and straight into the hands of the fielder, but quite low down. But he's had a fairly quiet game, has Patel, but he made no mistake when his moment came, and this really could end before lunch now. It's an absolute flurry of wickets. Essex heading to the top of the championship table in time for the T20 break. It's 112 for 6.
63 for the season for Harmer, and he seems to have this ability to make batsmen play reckless shots, because that's not how Warwickshire have got out of trouble this season. They've really got their heads down and battled. I expected them to do the same today, but I haven't, I'm afraid. They've been undone by Simon Harmer, who's looked back to his best. But one of the first things I'd have been saying to Warwickshire if I was in charge of the team, bearing in mind how the likes of Sam Northeast and Riley Russo got out to him absolutely recklessly here in the Hampshire game, which finished in less than 5 sessions, I'd be saying, whatever else you do, I don't want you getting caught deep on the leg side. I'm afraid that's what's happened there, really. Picked it up nicely, Hose, but it's a very risky shot to play. Didn't get over it and gone.
Well, Warwickshire were playing at the Aegeus Bowl in a long, high-scoring draw last week, and as if they had a chat to Hampshire, said, we've got to go to Chelmsford next week, mates. Any advice? Yes. You've played there. And they listened to the advice, and then for 3 days they ignored it, and then this morning they opened the envelope and saw what the advice was.
Yes.
And thought, oh, that's interesting, let's go for that, and it's not worked. Right.
No, I'm afraid this now, 5 wickets in the session. We've still got 3/4 of an hour up to lunch. Warwickshire do look to be gone.
Yes, it's been unfortunate this morning. They've after that really promising start to the innings, so promising, I'll tell you in a moment actually how worried it got people. This is played defensively up into the offside. We had very senior journalists next door saying, oh look, you were saying, people were saying on air, you've got to declare earlier, we need all of these 400 runs. My personal thought was 370, 380, but I perfectly understand why Ryan Tenduscarter went on as long as he did. But as it's turned out, the Essex bowlers have done the job, and I think they've rendered that argument fairly superfluous. 112 for 6.
Yeah, the fact, let's say Essex actually win by a huge number of runs, it doesn't invalidate Ryan Tenduscarter's thinking, which is, if he declares when a lot of people thought he should have done, Warwickshire would have needed 2.5 or 6 and over to get there, say 340 in about 140 overs. That's very gettable, and we know that their record is that they back patiently. Okay, there were a couple of leading players in that sphere of thinking, in Sibley and Hayne, not available in this game, but you can't suddenly declare and say, well, they haven't got X and Y, therefore I'm going to make a very different declaration.
No, it's all very small margins, to be honest, in terms of a few runs and a little bit of time as Beard bowls, and that's played up towards mid-on, and there's no run. As you said, yes, Steve, very, very rarely gets it wrong, particularly in the Championship, right?
Yep.
I
I want to remind you of a game you were at, Nick, and I was following very closely. And that was Essex v Middlesex here 2 years ago, when Harmer took his second 14 wickets in a match on the run, the other being against Warwickshire, ironically, and Essex got there in a sort of the penultimate over. We'll come back to that after this ball.
Yeah, curious game that, as that's a nice looking drive up into the offside by Burgess. Burgess 1 and Brooks no score. Goes up towards mid-off and there's no run, 112 for 6.
And Middlesex, who sort of collapsed disgracefully in the first innings,
yes.
were all out in 2 sessions. It was the pink ball game. But second innings, Nick Compton batted for more than a day. Played really well. He found 1 or 2 willing partners, and Tenduskar's declaration, not that Essex were ever going to be in danger of losing the game, but he timed it in such a way that Middlesex wouldn't quite have wiped off the first innings arrears if Essex could dismiss them, which they did with an over to spare.
And this is a pull shot and out towards deep square leg, and it's going to be just one. They'll come back for the second. They certainly don't want to run out, but nice ambitious shot. You feel Warwickshire now in a situation where it's very unlikely they're going to be able to bat out the day. Might as well just try and free up a little bit, and that was a loose stroke in a sense, but the ball was there for it, and managed to get it clear of the infield and away for a couple of runs. So 114 for 6. Burgess has 3.
Yes, I mean, Essex almost had Yates out to the first ball of the day, and when it just looped over Simon Harmer's head at just beyond his reach, I thought, well, if Warwickshire now get their heads down, they can, really make Essex sweat at the very least. But then Banks played a loose shot in the next over. It didn't get him out, but the signs were there that they just weren't quite in their normal sort of way of going about things.
2 slips, 2 short mid wickets, and that's a fine stroke from Burgess, away through the covers for 4. Well, Beard probably won't be over pleased with this over, but to be fair to the batsman, he's done extremely well. That was a lovely shot off the basically off the back foot through the offside into sort of wide open spaces with plenty of men in attacking positions and up towards the executive boxes for 4. That was a really nice stroke.
It certainly was, and at his best for Sussex, he's proved he can be a very, very useful batsman. I think he could prove to be a very useful signing for Warwickshire, because I'm given to understand that although at the moment he's on loan, he will become a permanent Warwickshire player from next season.
Beard just wants to try and be a little more threatening here with this ball. Can he do it? Well, it encourages the stroke from Burgess, but he doesn't time this one. It just rolls up into the offside and no run. Email from Philip Glover, which says, happy 67th birthday to. So first thought, is it a member of the commentary team present or not? But no, it's
I'm
not.
Far too old for that, I can assure you.
Well, Dick will say, no, I haven't got there yet. And in fact, the answer is
Ken McEwen.
Ken McEwen, yeah. So, and Philip says, I think for many supporters around my age, Ken McEwen, my favourite Essex batsman ever, and along with Keith Boyce, the greatest overseas player. Others may have greater players, but not greater Essex players, as they did not play the number of years that McEwen did. And of course, McEwen was never away on international duty either. And he scored just over 1,000 runs in his first season, actually, did Ken McEwen. Thanks for the little link there. And 1977 centuries in 4 consecutive first-class innings. And the following year, one of 5 Wisden Cricketers of the Year.
Well, I listened to Ken McEwen last night, funnily enough, because Around the Wicket is featuring a look back commemorating the 40th anniversary of Essex's first triumph since '79, and I made a tape that was on sale in the Essex shop back in about 1992, with Keith Fletcher and all the rest of the team looking back on those great days, and we have an interview with Ken McEwen on that, so if you listen in on Saturday, with any luck you might hear him.
As Harmer bowls, and let's just run down off the open face of the bat down to Tenduskarter at short leg, and there's no run. I might even have an interview with you, Paul, because I think we're going to try and put one together during the lunch interval.
Go and make a cup of tea while that's on. But as I say, I was lucky to interview all the Essex players involved, and a good number around the periphery, and even people like Tom Graveney. Come back to that.
So that should be good. It's driven away up towards mid-off, and there's no run. I've got a slightly different role. I'm going to be picking the music, because I was a teenager at that time, but I can't remember too much about the game. You know much more of an authority. So that's my job on Saturday. I'm looking forward to that. A slip and 2 short legs and a short mid-wicket, and this is just played bat and pad together into the offside. That's on Saturday. Of course, Thursday and Friday evenings, T20. And on Thursday, Lords, the first game at Lords since the World Cup final. And will David Brett have stayed there for 3 days?
Yes.
And will he just suddenly emerge on the commentary box? That's a big question. Slip and 2 short legs, a short mid-wicket. Harmer floats that one up and it's pushed back down the pitch by Brooks, and there's no run.
The only snag might be, Nick, those were back in the days when everything was done on cassette. So I'm counting on BBC Essex having, Paul Jocelyn, the producer of Around the Wicket, tells me that they must have a cassette deck somewhere so that they can then translate these interviews into something that can play.
Might need a bit of dusting down. This is pushed defensively back down the pitch, and there's no run. But that's the great thing. Cassette players, I'm sure, are really could be in quite a lot of demand, because there must be people with a lot of cassettes that they've recorded and can't play them on anything.
No.
And it would be I'll go on Dragon's Den with that, a cassette player. How about that? This is going to be a revolutionary new thing. This is pushed defensively up into the offside, and there's no run. Not sure I convinced Deborah Mead, mind you. 118 for 6, 7 to Burgess, and no score to Brooks.
Yeah, I mean, I felt cassettes were wonderful inventions. You just had the fast forward, the rewind, the play and the record, and even I, with my complete lack of technical know-how, grasped it fairly immediately. And what I particularly liked about cassettes, if you're involved in music in any way, if you want a particular part of a 3-minute track that you want to play, you don't want to go through it all. Say you've got a bit in the outro and so on. With a cassette you can just pinpoint it, bang, like that, as you could with reel-to-reel tape. But with CDs, unless you've got very advanced equipment, you can't.
Well, of course, back in the early 80s, there was a time when the cassette was king, before the CD was invented and just started to take over from vinyl. And the album that perhaps was the most notable example from that period was Michael Jackson's Thriller, which has a few fillers on it, but they're at either end. And what they did was they put the 5 or 6 classic tracks all in a row on that album, and that's what the cassette was all about. It was deliberately done so people could listen to the 5 or 6 key tracks on that album all in a row without having to worry too much.
Yeah,
deliberately done, I'm sure.
No, miss the old cassette technology. And of course, as much as anything, CDs came in so that firms could make more money by making it necessary to get completely different equipment, not because cassettes necessarily weren't perfectly sufficient.
So, start of the new over. Oh, that's a short, quite lively delivery from Quinn, who's come on at the Hayes close end, after perhaps slightly indifferent over from Beard, and that was a bouncer which was dug in, and Burgess has managed to keep out of harm's way. Interesting email from David Fuller. Harmer for England is basically the subject, but with the recent success of Archer for England, is there any legal, in inverted commas, chance that Simon Harmer could qualify to play for England, or has his past with South Africa prevented that? Thank you very much, David.
I would think yeah, I mean, Archer's got an English parent.
Yep, 2 slips waiting, and this is going down the leg side. Well, the one big example of someone playing for 2 countries was Kepler Wessels, isn't it?
I think he probably had some dual nationality.
Yes.
I don't think Harmer has. It may be, given X number of years that he might be considered to have qualified, but I think it would be a long way into the future, and from an Essex point of view, the longer the better.
Yes. I mean, you just think how strong a side South Africa would be in Test match cricket with him in the team.
Exactly.
118 for 6, and all this is going down the leg side, and it's in the end, Battleman gets a hand. Now he's still bringing his hand a little bit. It's as if that one took the end of his fingers, because he had a bit of a blow yesterday, and he's got his head down. He looks a bit uncomfortable, sort of walking around. I'm sure we'll have a word. Alistair Cook will have a word with him. But just as he took that, he just seemed to be in a bit of pain.
It's been a strange feature, hasn't it, really, of Essex in this game. Wheater took X number of blows on the end of the fingers, and now Battleman too. And yet you can't say there's particularly anything in the pitch. Maybe it's that some of the deliveries are arriving second bounce.
So here's Quinn bowling, and that one just sees Burgess covering up, playing defensively up into the onside, and there's no run.
Bit of a rally from Somerset for the 9th wicket, 238 for 8. They put on, I think, just over 30 for this 9th wicket, but they're still 86 runs short of avoiding the innings defeat there, and it looks fairly inevitable after the way they've lost 4 wickets already this morning. Hampshire look sure to make the game with Kent a draw, 170 for 2.
Yep, and this is a delivery going down the leg side, a stifled shout. Certainly in Division 2. I think a key match is Durham-Worcester. If Durham can win that, and they were in a good position, see if they've got I think Worcester were 5 down last I looked. Durham really on a great run, and Northants, who could beat Derbyshire. Both of those sides are going well, and the winner of that game is right in the mix.
Just before we come to that, there was an appeal there actually, and a very good catch by Buttleman, catch in inverted commas. He couldn't understand why Paul Baldwin wasn't going to raise the finger.
It wasn't a full-blooded appeal, certainly from the bowler, more from the keeper. A leg slip in, 2 slips and a leg slip and a short mid-wicket, as this is pulled away, and actually quite a well-controlled shot down towards fine leg from Burgess, who started well. He's gone along to 8. It's 119 for 6.
Yes, coming back to your point, Durham are certainly making very good headway in this part of the season. I actually nominated them as in my 3 to go up, because I thought they did have an outside chance, and be interesting to see what new vindictive punishment the ECB can come up with to prevent them from going up, if they do.
So Worcestershire were 5 down. There's still a bit of a partnership from Worcestershire. 107 for 6. Need a further 245
for 5.
107 for 5. Yeah. Need a further 245 to win. So that is a partnership.
Yeah, but they'll get there. Worcester aren't, for me, in the mood to sort of bat all day.
So we've got basically a slip, a leg slip, and a short leg and a short mid-wicket, and this is flicked away round the corner by Burgess, who's taken the strikes for start of a new Harmer over. Harmer has now got 4 for 32 in the first ball of his 21st over, and 63 wickets for the season, and 1 more goes for total. And now Harmer has a chance to bowl at Brooks, who's not yet off the mark, and in fact he's faced 7 deliveries so far. So this might be an opportunity for Harmer to add to his haul in this innings to get up another 5-4. Potentially could end up with a very big haul here as he goes into a different phase of the season, captaining him at T20. Interesting to see how much he bowls himself in that. This is played defensively up into the offside, and they go through for a single. He'll have Zampa and Lawrence, of course, as the other potential spinners. It will be interesting to see how he manages that. 1 goes to a totals with Brooks off the mark, 120 for 6.
What do you make of the overall standard of county cricket just at the moment, Nick, compared to, shall we say, 5 years ago?
Well, I think it's pretty certainly in Division 1 it's pretty high, it seems to me, as Harmer bowls, and that's played off the back foot and runs out towards mid-wicket. I think you look at the divisions, and you see probably still essentially 3 divisions in terms of the overall quality of the sides. Harmer bowls, and this is lofted away into the air and safe. That's good use of the feet. This is a nice bold little riposte from Burgess. He's got 6 over long on. He goes to 15. It's 127 for 6. He used his feet well. He might as well give it a go here, because Warwickshire aren't going to bat out the day. That was good use of the feet, and away for 6. Interestingly, Kevin Hand, our colleague from BBC Radio London, made a comment on Twitter. He said he was sort of taken aback by the standard of Division 2, but he didn't say whether it was good or bad. And I still have to ask him on Thursday when I see him.
Yeah, I think too many batsmen now are wanting to play shots too early and not building an innings.
That's the one thing, isn't it? And particularly in Division 1, we've seen a lot of low scores and people not being prepared to bat 4 sessions.
Yeah. Now Burgess, I know he can clonk the ball all over the place. He's very good at it, but the test for him here is to pick the right ball to do it to. He did on that occasion.
So 3 round the bat. And this time he just plays a nice stroke, actually, away through short leg for a single. One fears that, from Warwickshire's point of view, this is just going to be a little cameo to delay the inevitable. The damage surely has been done.
Yeah, just like to say, Graham Gooch would say of these last 2 deliveries on the part of Michael Burgess, good cricket, he'd say. 6, don't try and repeat it next ball. Do exactly what Burgess did, just work it for a single.
As Harmer bowls, driven away on the bounce up towards mid-wicket, and there's no run. The end of Harmer's over. He has 4 for 40 in 21, and it's 128 for 6, with 16 on the board now to Burgess, and 1 to Brooks. And Andrew Cozier in Brisbane says, listing in anticipation of an Essex victory, he says, bring back Foster behind the stumps. And that must have been a thought that's gone through a few Essex minds, given the luck they've had with keepers this season. The irony of it, of course, Andrew. But thank you very much for getting in touch with us. Yeah. And time to hand over to you, Paul, for the half hour before lunch.
Yeah, thank you very much,
bring
Nick.
Clive Eakin in.
Clive will join us in just a moment. Not Peter Siddle, Matt Quinn will bowl the next over from the Hayes Close end.
128 for 6, nominal target we call it at the moment, 401 in the minimum 121 overs. You never know if Burgess really was able to play the way he is doing, raced on to 16 in no time. If he were to get a big 100 here, it might all look very different, as Quinn will bowl to him with 2 slips and a leg slip, and he's played this back to mid-on, and there's no run, and score remaining 128 for 6. And just looking to see if Somerset have lost any more wickets. The answer is no. They're putting up a little bit of resistance with only 2 wickets left. They do bat down, and wait a minute, they've lost a 9th wicket, 239 for 9. Jamie Overton has just gone for 21. He had to put on 30 or so with his brother Craig, but he's 17 not out. And bouncer there goes over the head of Michael Burgess. The bowler's Matt Quinn. 239 for 9 then, and they're still needing about 80 to wipe off the arrears there, Somerset. So their number is up, and it looks almost certain that they're going to slide to an innings defeat. And even worse from their point of view, they will have taken just 1 bonus point from the game, a bowling bonus point, none for batting. They got to 196 and the last wicket went down. Here's Quinn. Bowls, and that's down leg side, not taken cleanly by Buttleman. They'll scoot through for what's just about to be signalled as a bye. 129 for 6. Sympathy for Buttleman on 2 counts. One is that the ball is skidding through sort of almost on second bounce, which means that keepers are having to try and take it on the dreaded half volley. And that's why both Buttleman's right hand and Wheater's are suffering with bruising, and rather wayward bowling from Quinn there. The ball going a long way down leg side, so you've got 2 felonies there really. One, you're having to go a long way to your left, and secondly, still try and stop it on virtually second bounce. So coming into strike now is Henry Brooks. He's made 129 for 6.
Yeah, once you're heading for defeat here, I'm afraid.
Adjustment to the field. Still 2 slips. A leg slip who, whether intentionally or not, has just gone slightly wider than Dan Lawrence was standing when Burgess was on strike. Quinn bowls. Again, it's ill-directed down leg side. And it's a shame for Matt Quinn. He's missed so much cricket over the years with persistent stress fractures of the back. And he hasn't really got into a rhythm as yet. Called into the side because Jamie Porter is away. It's never easy stepping into the shoes of a very successful bowler indeed, which Jamie Porter has certainly been for Essex throughout his career, and then to do so off a backdrop of coming back from a long time out with injury. Here he drops one in short and the ball is pulled away and it's gone for 4. Rishi Patel can't cut that off at long leg. It went square of him. 133 for 6, and nicely picked up there from Brooks, who moves along to 5 as Clive Eakin rejoins it.
Well, there's a temptation to get Peter Siddle on Brooks. He completely worked him out in the first innings, and Brooks had no answer to what was a pretty simple plan. So I'm sure if he lasts too long, that will be an option. Let's go back to Adam Hose's dismissal. I actually don't have a problem with him playing an attacking shot at this stage. I mean, the game's pretty much up for Warwickshire. The very unlikely event of them getting out of this, it probably is through a bit of gung-ho attacking.
Quinn is in. Bowls, and this ball is nudged away. They'll get at least 1 and probably only 1 as it in comes Patel to do the fielding, and 134 for 6. Last ball of the over, so he will keep the strike. That's Henry Brooks on 6, and at the other end Michael Burgess has 60.
The disappointment for me really was that, I mean, it's easy to play the game from sitting here, but if you're going to play an attacking shot, you've got to know where your fielders are, and he's played it straight to mid-wicket. So a bit disappointing in that sense, and because he had looked a bit better, I thought, than he did in the first innings. I know he got a bit of luck when he was dropped, but he looked completely out of sorts in the first innings. He looked a little better. Just seeing that England have announced their women's squad for the Ashes. Amy Jones of Warwickshire is included in it. She's the only Warwickshire player in it. Kirsty Gordon has been included, having recovered from injury. They're in a bit of bother though, and the Ashes are the the women. This is for the one-off test match, which they have to win to retain any chance of regaining the Ashes. They have to win that and win all 3 T20 internationals. To win. They might get away if one of the T20 internationals was rained off. They'd get away with that, but they certainly can't afford to lose one.
No, absolutely right. We've heard from rather odd email to my ear. Lucifer Satan says, why is it that all commentators refer to Peter Siddle as Sybil? Is there some kind of Australian silent B involved? Well, there might just be a problem with your ear, actually, Lucifer Satan, because I've been sitting with Nick and Clive and Dick before. It's never occurred to me they've been calling him Sybil, and I certainly, as a lifelong fan of Fawlty Towers, or nearly lifelong anyway, in which Sybil played a huge, a very amusing part, I've never referred to Siddle as Sybil.
No.
So I hope I'm wrong, but I feel there might be a slight problem with your ears there.
Slightly odd email handle as well, isn't it, really? Slightly questionable. Anyway.
Well, it's going to... Nick Brown now has donned the helmet because Essex, in addition to slip, leg slip and forward short leg, now have a silly point, and Harmer's in from the River End bowls, and this ball's just pushed out a few yards to Nick Brown, 134 for 6. Here comes Harmer again. Short mid-wicket in as well. Bowls quicker, flatter delivery. And there is the short mid-wicket, who is Peter Siddle. And 134 for 6 remains the score.
Well, it'd be a good job of Warwickshire managed to get this beyond lunch at the moment.
Harmer gives us plenty of air, hit back to the bowler on the bounce. And I just heard that Middlesex have beaten Glamorgan. Thank you, Nick.
Our lunch vouchers have arrived, but they might be packing up and going home if Warwickshire don't offer a bit of resistance.
Don't worry, the lunch will still be there, I'm assured. There's Harmer's in. Bowls, a bit of a slog here. In fairness, he was aiming an off drive, but it's come off the inside part of the bat down to Wesley at long on. So Brooks moves along to 7 and the score to 135 for 6.
Burgess did get after Harmer a little bit in the first innings. He's already hit him for 6 in this one, so this could be quite an entertaining little contest. I expect Harmer will win it eventually, but Burgess might offer a bit of defiance first.
Bowles gives us plenty of blue. Oh my word, that kept low. He played it well. I expected him to go after that, but instead he did exactly the right thing, Michael Burgess, and watched it carefully onto his bat. He was in a good position to deal with the low bounce there. Sort of looped up in the air, but then virtually plugged when it landed as Harmer bowls again. Again he tosses it up, and again very well played by Burgess down to long on. No risk involved whatsoever. Wesley Field, single, takes Burgess to 17, and after 50 overs, Warwickshire needing a notional 401 in a minimum 121, at 136 for 6.
Word I gather is that Burgess will play in the T20 for the Bears, so he might even try and get a bit of practice. A few T20 shots now really mattered too much as far as this game's concerned, so he may have license to do that, but I understand this is his Warwickshire debut. He's been with the county for a little while, playing a bit of second 11 cricket, having signed from Sussex officially on loan, but that's a technicality with a view to an already agreed permanent deal. There's now 4 helmets behind that wicket-keeper. I think if Burgess can bounce the ball on all 4 of them, he should get 20 runs.
Yes, I mean, that would be such a feat. Good email has come in from our good friend George.
Simon Talful what the rule is, if he bounces on all 4.
As Quinn is on his way in, bowls, and again ill-directed delivery, and it's clipped away off the pads, and nice interception from Dan Lawrence, but they get the single that takes the score to 137 for 6, and that takes the batsman there, Burgess, up to 18. Brooks comes in to strike. Good email from our good friend George Farrow, who says, in the light of my saying how the keeper was taking the ball on the ends of fingers second bounce, are the keepers not standing too far back? And that is a good point. I think the answer is yes, actually. Of course, the problem, George, would be that not all deliveries are sort of going through on the second bounce, and presumably they're standing a good way back for the one that isn't keeping a bit low. But the fact remains that I think they could come up a yard. Slight delay while the helmets are readjusted, because Quinn is now going to bowl round the wicket. probably a good move, because all his deliveries previously have been very much going down leg side. We've got a first slip and a third slip, to be precise here. Cook at first, Harmer at third.
Another result in the second division, by the way. Northampton have beaten Derbyshire in 3 days by 72 runs at Chesterfield. So glad they got a game in at Chesterfield this year. They've been very unlucky weather-wise in recent years.
And as you imply, it's a wonderful ground, Chesterfield, Queen's Park. As this ball is pulled away for 4, and that's a nice shot actually. It was short of a length, still the line wasn't right, I'm afraid, from Quinn, and Brooks belted it through mid-wicket to the boundary. He has 11, 141 for 6.
Well, it's a shortish square leg on the third pitch across, and I think he's just having a little look at the bowler saying, are you sure you put the ball there and you want me to stand here? And he was quite fortunate that didn't hit him. But, anyway, good shot from Brooks. I suppose there's not a great deal of pressure on the Warwickshire batters out there now. They probably know realistically that they're not going to save this, so they can play with a bit of freedom.
Quinn's in. Round the wicket, bowl short again. This ball's hooked in the air and it's gone for 6 over Beard's head, standing on the square leg boundary. For a moment I thought he might have holed out there because the fieldsman was bang in line, but fair play. Brooks got it off the meat of the bat and with enough height on it to clear Beard, and he has 17 and scored to 147 for 6.
Allows me to give the 6 stats. That's Warwickshire's 23rd. They've got 2 in this innings, so it's a 23rd 6 of the championship season this season. Brooks is 3rd. They are still being out 6th though. 1 more 6 in the Essex second innings meant that Warwickshire have conceded 32 sixes to the 23 they've hit.
Quinn again. Bowls. This ball short outside, off stump. It's going to produce probably 2 runs, as Brown has a chase of some 45 yards back from inside the circle in inverted commas to within about 15 yards of the cover boundary, and scored to 149 for 6. Very expensive over from Quinn. I fancy it will be his last, unless he were to get a wicket with the remaining 2 deliveries. 19 now. Brooks has overtaken Burgess on 80.
I wonder if it matters though, if it's expensive, particularly when you look at Brooks's last shot. If he keeps playing that, sooner or later he's going to get caught in the deep, and Essex have got plenty of runs to play with, so I wouldn't be getting too worried if our Essex about a few runs being scored.
Quinn's in. Bowls, and this ball has been pulled away along the ground for most of the way anyway, out to Beard on that square leg boundary. A single to Brooks takes him to 20. Applause for the Warwickshire 150.
Yes, they're playing a bit T20ish at the moment, aren't they? But,
they are.
305 balls for the 150. I will do the comparison in a moment.
And Burgess retakes his guard and settles over his bat. Slightly open stance, and Quinn is in to bowl to him. Bright sunshine. Again, it's short. Burgess just defends it into the onside. So Warwickshire 150 for 6, needing a nominal 401 in a minimum 121 overs. We've now had 51 overs of the Warwickshire second innings.
And the third 50 came in just 67 balls, which I will double check, but I think that's probably the quickest 50 Warwickshire have managed in the match. They lost 2 wickets for that third 50.
And last we heard, Somerset were on the cusp of an innings defeat to Yorkshire at Headingley, last pair together.
Big step towards winning the championship for Yorkshire, that one.
Yeah. And of course Yorkshire play Somerset again. You know, they play them twice, well, not in quick succession because the next game isn't for a month now, but yeah, obviously the renewal is at Taunton, and Yorkshire have won. Thank you very much, Nick, as he gives me the news from over my shoulder. And first ball of Harmer's over, just defended into the offside by Henry Brooks, who has 20, tall commanding figure, surrounded by a man at each corner. And Harmer's in, bowls, and he's hoisted this one, and that's going to go for 6, and takes the score to 156 for 6. And well, this pair aren't going to die wondering. 26 now to Brooks.
Well, I mentioned that last 50 came of 67 balls. It was Warwickshire's quickest block of 50 in the match. In fact, the only block of 50 by either side that was quicker was Essex's 6th 50 in their second innings, and that was 1 ball quicker than that. So we are seeing the brightest batting in terms of scoring rate, or some of the brightest batting in the match thus far. Perhaps Brooks is making a point that he should be in the T20 side. I'm not sure he's a shoe. In fact, I doubt he'd be in it at the moment, but maybe they might look at this and think otherwise.
Harmer bowls turn. All defence, again, that's good cricket. Don't go after every ball and pick the right one. Siddlefields at mid-wicket, 156 for 6. Harmer, River End. Slip, leg slip, forward, short leg, silly point. Bowls, a little bit of an outside edge, but all along the ground, perfectly safe. Single to Brooks, moves to 27, and the score to 157 for 6.
That's good stuff from Brooks. As I say, you'd expect Harmer to win this battle eventually, but at least he's to giving him a go.
Harmer bowls and down the wicket, and this ball's gone a long way up in the air and it's gone for 6 as well. Rishi Patel was right underneath it, but a long way underneath it as he stood on the boundary edge. And big hitting this time from Michael Burgess. He goes up to 24. It's 163 for 6.
You've got to take Harmer off. He's too expensive.
Well, yes.
Get him out of the attack.
Can't understand why he's still on, Gov.
Minor landmarks I know, but Warwickshire have at least surpassed their first innings score now. And of course also a 50 partnership for this 7th wicket. And they've lost the ball. Game over. No balls left. Draw.
Yeah, that's right. Essex impoverished, as we know. And in fact, I was just listening to a tape of Trevor Bailey, the late Trevor Bailey, describing how Warwickshire very generously lent Essex interest-free at £13,000 so they could buy this very ground here at Chelmsford. They now need to go back to Edgbaston for a further loan so they can afford new balls.
Yes. Have they paid that back yet? No, Dickie was telling me that story on the first day, but there we are.
No, it's very generous of Warwickshire.
Yes.
Of course, here we are.
Might be regretting it right now.
Yeah, it's enabled Essex to own their home ground, and they do own it.
Well, it's a nice ground as well, and nicely positioned. Well, some time to retrieve the ball.
I suspect it's in the river.
Yes. I don't know. Do balls float or do they sink? I suppose they probably sink.
They sink, but we do have a specially trained squad of frogmen.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but perhaps the training has let them down on this occasion because they decided that they'll have reluctantly to go to their very last box of balls to see if they can get a replacement here. But great hitting from these two, 163 for 6.
Yeah, I mean, they are in a kind of nothing to lose situation, but it is good hitting. He's saying, I mean, I jest, but there is an element of we've got to get ready for T20 now. That's the next game, and Burgess in particular. I mean, he will play in that. I don't think Brooks will, but no harm in getting used to using the long handle a bit. I mean, twice the 6s have been fielders on the boundary, but the 6 has been hit so well it's gone over the fielder's head. Sooner or later, one will go to hand, but it's fun while it lasts.
Well, certainly what isn't a good policy with Harmer, though you don't want to take silly risks, but if you let him totally dictate to you, I mean, he's got loads of occasions where he's gone for under 2 and over.
I thought that's what Burgess did in the first innings, to be fair.
Yes, he did. No, that's right. Harmer's in. Bowls to him. That's down leg side, nicely taken by Buttleman. So another expensive over with Essex 163 for 6, and be interested to see if Quinn does continue from the Hayes close end. I think he's going to. He's expecting to, and score 163 for 6 with 27 to Brooks and 24 to Burgess. Yeah,
if I was the Essex captain, I wouldn't change it just yet. Doesn't matter if it's expensive. The batters are going to play their shots, as I say. Likelihood is they'll hold out. If they don't in 2 or 3 overs, then you can change it, and Peter Siddle will be an obvious one, particularly against Brooks. But so what if they hit a few 6s? Should be Essex's view. They just want to get the game won and done, and be sharp in the field and take the chance when one is mishit.
Well, that last 6 brought up the 50 partnership in next to no time. 112 for 6 it was, 163 for 6 it is. Still, we've got a first slip and a third slip as Quinn comes in around the wicket. bowls to Brooks, and has he been strangled here? Essex thinks so, the umpire doesn't. Paul Baldwin, the score remains 163 for 6.
He's given it.
Goodness me, talk about a posthumous decision. He initially, I thought, not only didn't move but shook his head, and Bottleman thought he'd just nicked it as he flicked down leg side, but very odd. I mean, either you think he's hit it or he hasn't.
The only thing is, I noticed the wicketkeeper actually turned to the square leg umpire, so whether there was some doubt in the umpire at the bowler's end as to whether it had bounced after it's been hit, and perhaps he checked with the square leg umpire. He might have been a bit unlucky there, Brooks, but anyway, he's gone. Slightly odd dismissal, just swinging it one going down the leg side. Though you could hear it click, but
I think you must
the
be
umpire
right.
must have thought it went clean to the wicket-keeper and didn't bounce under the bat. So,
as you say, Bottleman looked at the square leg umpire there
he did,
in the hope he might corroborate, which he has. And the bowling umpire didn't immediately think that it had just flicked the edge, but was man enough to refer it to Steve O'Shaughnessy, who clearly detected an edge there. And so the 7th wicket goes down, 163 for 7, and if another, I think even one more wicket went down before lunch, they might extend the morning session.
I suppose that, strictly speaking, goes down as court sub, doesn't it?
It does. But nowadays the general,
you put it in brackets.
You put it in brackets.
Yes, yeah. Well, Brooks had a go, didn't he? Played a couple of nice shots, nice sixes. Warwickshire are not going to lose this game because he's just got out there. They're already as good as lost it, so he entertained a little bit.
The annoying thing for Brooks is that, he played some marvellous shots, big hits, and there he was just doing what a lot of players do. You get a ball down leg side, you just flickered it, and very unluckily is adjudged to have feathered it through.
Yes, batters and sort of professional cricketers always seem to feel that a batter's a bit unlucky to get caught down the leg side like that. So maybe he was. Jitan Patel will come in, and last couple of innings he's played fairly within himself because the situation's demanded it, but in this situation he might have a go as well, and also get ready for a T20. He's very capable of that, although he's rather better at it with the red ball than he is with the white ball. Strange, with the white ball he tends to pick out the fielders.
And this next ball is also down leg side, taken by Bottleman. Jitan Patel now on strike, 163 for 7.
Sometimes wondered why every time Jitan Patel plays an attacking shot with the white ball he seems to go straight to the fielder, and our theory is that the white ball fields are set for that sort of shot in the way that they're not necessarily in the red ball, because he usually gets away, he usually manages to connect with a few with the red ball before getting out.
And Quinn is in around the wicket, bowls to Patel, who stops the ball in the crease. No run, 163 for 7. Heard from George Farrow again, who says practice match ? This has the air of one. Credit to Essex skipper, gives a chance to Quinn when he could easily wrap things up by bringing back Siddle.
But may also be protecting Siddle a little bit. You don't want to overuse your strike bowlers, do you? I know there's a while before the next championship game, but even so.
Yeah, we'll be going into BBC Essex News at 1 o'clock. Hopefully they'll kill programme in our ear while we wait that long as Quinn is in. Thank you.
Someone's listening.
Bowls, and this ball a little bit uppishly but perfectly safely. Off the mark goes Patel, playing the ball out about 35 yards in the mid-wicket direction, and that takes the score to 164 for 7.
Obviously respect your foreboding voice there, Paul.
Voice of foreboding. You're doomed. For years I was understudy to Fraser in Dad's Army. Always a character I empathised with. I think I've probably had a lot of teachers at school, when I think about it, who would all sort of give me that impression that I was doomed, and there was no hope for me either in terms of ability to understand what they were trying to teach me, or what hope I had in life. And they've been proved right.
Extra man dropping back to the boundary. They're expecting Burgess to give this a long handle. Fire Burgess. I'd just roll this short of the field and go for a single.
So Burgess takes a good look round the adjusted field, And hopefully he's got his bearings right as he faces Quinn again from the Hayes close end. Bowls, it's dug in short. And this very much appears to be Quinn's strategy now, that he, to be fair to him, he's not one who normally does bowl short. But I think he didn't have a lot of joy pitching it up, so he's now trying leg theory, if you like. And that one is allowed to go through to Will Buttleman. 164 for 7, so Warwickshire have lost 6 wickets this morning. Banks caught Wesley bowled Siddle 50, Yates caught Cook bowled Harmer 13, Mosley caught Cook bowled Harmer first ball 0, Hose caught Patel bowled Harmer 13, Ambrose caught Lawrence bowled Harmer 8 as his Quinn bowling. He does pitch this one up and it's going to produce 2 runs, I would think, as it's driven back past the bowler. Looks as if Siddle will just no, in fact he's not been able to pull it up. That's 4 runs. It was timed better than I gave the batsman credit for, and Burgess goes up to 28, 168 for 7, and the most recent man out, Brooks, after a lengthy wait, a judge caught behind by Buttleman off Quinn for 27.
Yeah, good innings from Michael Burgess so far. So this is his Warwickshire debut. He impressed reasonably well in the first innings, and doing quite well in the second innings. Warwickshire would have hoped to have had a bit of fight today. It hasn't really happened against Harmer. Not the first team to find it difficult to cope with Simon Harmer, and so we are slightly going through the motions, you would think. I mean, it would need something monumental from a Warwickshire pair to create any doubt whatsoever in this game.
Harmer about to bowl again from the river end. Comes up, holds to Patel. Off spinner to off spinner, defended back to the bowler.
I just wonder whether Ollie Hallen-Dolby will necessarily bat. He was off the field for much of the Essex second innings. We were told it was precautionary, but if Warwickshire, if the 9th wicket falls with most of the day still to go and no chance of a win, whether they'll bother sending Hallen-Dolby out will be a question for later.
Harmer bowls to Patel, defends back down the pitch, no run.
It might be that Essex just need 2 more wickets to seal the victory.
Harmer.
Who's been warned about his follow through there? Get him off ump.
Yes, Somerset in the end were 251 all out and take only 1 point from that game as the next ball is played to short mid wicket. So
it's a bit of a hammering, isn't it? I wonder what effect it will have on Somerset. Of course, always have this sort of this problem that they've never won the championship, so it is a little bit of a holy grail for them, which might play on their minds a bit.
Yorkshire won by an innings and 73 runs. Obviously they missed Lewis Gregory in that game, a bit of a talisman for the side. Harmer's in bowls and this ball is played back down the pitch. Of course the other irony, Clive, is that they put Yorkshire into bat.
Well, it just made Warwickshire's win at York look particularly impressive. Could in the end be the result that actually keeps Warwickshire up, that victory at York.
Oh, I think you're definitely going to be up.
Oh, stop saying that. 38 points, it's
you're
not
definitely
that much.
Going down. You've no hope. All hope is lost as this next ball is played to back pad and there's no run. It's 168%.
In all seriousness, Warwickshire looking in decent positions, particularly against Notts, but they can't believe that they're there yet.
You and I, Clive, could have a jolly good competition, a pessimism competition.
Well, I think they will stay up, but what I'm saying is they're not there yet.
As, this next one, appeal for LBW, it's gone down towards the fine leg boundary. It's leg byes, and they get just the one, I think. There was 168 for 7.
Simon Harmer's not happy. He thinks that's out. But, he's getting greedy.
Well, it could have turned past leg stump.
Yeah, might have been a bit high as well. So send him off, descent.
Yep.
Determined to get Harmer out of the game one way or the other.
Well, it's your only hope. You're perfectly entitled to try and do so, even though you won't succeed.
It's a lovely sunny day here now today. We're not going to see too much cricket, we don't think, but I don't think the Essex faithful will be too upset. They'll have enjoyed the morning and see Essex top of the table in what had looked like a 2-horse race. It is probably now a 2.5-horse race. Certainly Yorkshire had to beat Somerset to have any chance, and they've done that. Somerset getting just 1 point. That's so damaging.
Interesting news of the side who 2 or 3 games ago were in second place, seemingly in the race. Hampshire have started to collapse. They've lost 5 wickets all of a sudden rather than 2 in adding only 15 runs, and they're now only 40 ahead with just 5 wickets left of Kent. Here is another short pitch delivery from Quinn that Patel limbos under, 169 for 7.
Well, even if Kent draw that game, Warwickshire are probably now looking at 6th as the highest they can get. It'll be about 20 odd points behind Surrey.
Yeah, just to put flesh on the bones, Russo's gone for 66, Rahani made 42, Holland 69, Berger's gone for 0, and it is an Aaron Donald and McManus who are at the crease now. Neither have got many runs to their name.
I suppose if Kent were to win that, it would just about keep Hampshire within, just about within striking distance of Warwickshire. Of Warwickshire, I mean, not of...
Well, this one is dug in and it's played uppishly. If there'd been a conventional back pad there instead of a sort of shortish mid-wicket, that might have been a catch, but it wasn't one. 169 for 7. Clive departs to do his update for BBC Coventry and Warwickshire, and I shall be doing mine for BBC Essex in just a moment or two. And this will be the last over before lunch, with Warwickshire have had a poor session, 169 for 7. And they've added 102 but have lost 6 wickets, and Patel fends the next ball off into the offside, gets his second run, a single into the covers, and Brown retrieves with a little bit of help from Peter Siddle. Michael Burgess on 28 has moved on to strike. 170 for 7 up on the board, and we've had 54 of the minimum 121 overs. Quinn on his way around the wicket. Bowls, and well kept out of the way Burgess. They started to go for the pull shot, saw that he hadn't got inside the line, wisely pulled out of it. He survives on 28. But as I say, undoubtedly Essex's morning here. Now they will take 20 points from the game and go on to 169, and we can now say with certainty that Somerset, with just 1 point from a disastrous visit to Headingley, have 165. So if Essex win this game, they will lead the table by 4 points. Quinn is in, bowls. This ball is flicked uppishly off the hip, but goes to ground well before reaching Tenduscar, who shies at the stumps at the bowler's end. Competitive as ever, the Essex skipper, and clasps hands above head, because if that had hit, he would have run out Burgess there. They get the 1 run, and it's 171 for 7 up on the board. And 55th over of the minimum 121 in progress. Harmer predictably has bowled unchanged all morning from the River End. He has 4 wickets, giving him a season's tally of 63, and Felty got his 64th, which would have given him a 5-wicket haul a moment ago, but I felt it was a correct decision for Steve O'Shaughnessy to turn his appeal down against Michael Burgess. Slight delay while helmets are donned here as Patel will be on strike. We've got 1 ball left of the morning session. Dan Lawrence dons the helmet to be a conventional bat pad. I'm surprised there hasn't been one from the word go. In fact, he's more of a old-fashioned silly mid-on. He got a short, very short mid-wicket, about 8 yards from the bat. Quinn is in and bowls, and well kept down by Patel, and that should be the signal for lunch. And indeed it is. 171 for 7 at lunch. Burgess has 29, Patel has 2, and unless you want to hear my update into the BBC Essex News coming up right away, we'll see you at 1:40. Well, first of all, the good news from Headingley that Yorkshire have thrashed Somerset by an innings and 72 runs, so Somerset take only 1 point from that game. They're the current leaders, but if Essex win this game, they will overtake Somerset and lead by 4 points. And they've had a terrific morning. They've taken 6 wickets. It started at 67 for 1. Somerset needing 401 to win, or 171 for 7 at lunch. Burgess has 29 not out. Apart from that, Simon Harmer has nipped in with 4 wickets.
6. He now has 63 for the season. Banks made 50 before Siddle got him out, and Quinn has the wicket of Brooks for 27. 171 for 7, and Essex surely this evening will lead the table by 4 points.
Since then, Henry Brooks and Michael Burgess decided to enjoy themselves a bit.
Thank you.
The long handle, perhaps with the T20 round the corner in mind. Both
Welcome back on BBC Essex and BBC Coventry in Warwickshire to our coverage here at Chelmsford of the final afternoon of this championship match between Essex and Warwickshire. Warwickshire having had a bad morning session, which they lost 6 wickets. 171 for 7 is the current score. They need a further notional 230 to win. And resuming will be Michael Burgess, 29 not out, and Jeetan Patel, 2 not out. The main damage done after Banks fell early to Siddle for his maiden first-class 50. Simon Harmer taking 4 wickets in 20 deliveries, including 2 in consecutive balls. All that actually after he dropped a relatively simple chance in the over before at second slip. But he now has 63 wickets for the season, and he'll be eyeing up a few more in a situation where Essex know if they win this match, they're going to go 4 points clear at the top of the championship table ahead of the T20 break. I'm Nick Ledhill. With me is, to start the commentary, is Clive Egan.
Yes, Warwickshire's submission is official. Mel Smith, the scorer, has collected the Warwickshire flag and has it folded by his side, ready to take home. Simon Harmer comes in to bowl. He's done the damage, gives up plenty of air and almost gets through. It's no great surprise, really, and much more experienced batting lineups have been turned over by Simon Harmer than this one. Well, I should be disappointed they haven't put up a bit more of a fight, but I think they will be philosophical about this. Harmer with a leg slip and forward short leg. Oh, Burgess continues to attack. It's come down the pitch. It's launched out over the top. Is that going to go all the way? No, it's just a 4 for Burgess, who, as we say, may have T20 in mind, although he did go after Harmer a little bit in the first innings as well. It's clearly his natural game. He did it quite effectively in the first innings, and he's done it there as well. 175 for 7. He's gone for another one. He's cleared mid-on just, and 1 bounce for 4. Burgess obviously wants to win this before tea. It's 179 for 7, and he's on to 37.
Well, they're not going to bat out the 2 sessions, so the other alternative is to try and get the runs as quickly as possible.
Yeah. I suspect this will help us get away before the rush out, to be honest. Mid-on has dropped back now, so if he tries that shot again, he's in trouble. Yes, he really connects. And he doesn't. He plays it down into the ground to short leg for no run. I'm a little bit... If I were Essex, Harmer, I know he wants to protect his figures a bit, but I wouldn't bother putting mid-on back. Allow Burgess to carry on. Sooner or later he's going to miss Q1. As long as you haven't got plenty of time and runs to play with. Quicker ball from Harmer, played back to him by Burgess. No run.
Yep, it's been another tremendous performance. 6 wins out of 6 it'll be for Essex on this ground if they can wrap this up.
Harmer balls, quicker ball, and he's gone for the reverse sweep there. Burgess premeditated shot. It was a little bit wider down the leg side than he would ideally have liked. He managed to connect with it, but he couldn't get it into a space. So, interesting over. Burgess hitting 2 aerial boundaries. He's on to 37, and the score's 179 for 7.
Lunch in the tour match at Canterbury. We'll look at some of the other games in Division 1 and 2 in a moment, but Jamie Porter coming on as first change has got the wicket of Joe Burns for 9. He has figures of 1 for 3 in 3 overs at the moment, and England Lions made 267. Australia made 397 in their first innings, and they are 39 for 1, that wicket taken by Porter in the second. So that's a nice moment for Jamie Porter to have got that wicket of the potential Australian opener. One who is going to open with David Warner, still a few questions there. Burns one of the contenders.
So, who we're going to have? It's going to be Peter Siddle back into the attack, try and wrap this up. And he'll be up against Jeetan Patel, who's limbering up. 3 slits. Mid on, mid off, up. Should Patel want to try and hit over the top. There's a mid wicket. Cover. Backward point. This was the first innings. Warwick should be closing in on a possible batting point. They didn't manage one in the first innings. All that for 161. Siddle, right arm over, and he tries at that. Patel doesn't go where he intended, but it doesn't matter because he's gone for 4. An edge along the ground, through the gully area, 4 runs to Jeetan Patel. He's on to 6, and Warwickshire racing to 183 for 7.
Yes, Somerset on 165. Essex will go to 169 with a win. Yorkshire sitting on 131 after that victory over Somerset, which in the end was by an innings and 73 runs. 4 wickets for Stephen Patterson, 3 for Matt Fisher, and 3 for Keshav Maharaj.
Have Essex played Yorkshire twice?
Yeah.
Yes.
In comes Siddle. He slips still in place. Patel, I guess. That solidly behind that one into the ground to point. There's no run.
One which was the only game really since the resumption after the 50 overs in which they've been sort of second best. They had the worst of a draw, if you like, at Headingley, where Yorkshire very much made the running, but they beat Yorkshire more or less as comfortably as they've beaten everybody else here last week. Games following fairly similar patterns.
Siddle, the Australian former Test player, bowls, and that's side off. Somebody leans forward. Has Siddle officially retired from international cricket?
Siddle?
Yeah.
No, I think he's basically in the. I think he's in the Australia preliminary.
Yeah, okay.
Either a preliminary squad or.
I think one of your colleagues mentioned that actually. He might be playing in the Australian.
I can see him playing in that game, Australia versus Australia.
11.
Yeah. Southampton.
He's bowled well in this match, putting a 4 slip in place. He looked particularly good at brushing through Warwickshire's tail in the first innings, which is what he's trying to do now. And Patel plays and misses that. That's too good for Chetan Patel. Taken by the wicketkeeper, and it remains 183 for 7. So 218 required by Warwickshire to pull off what would be one of the most remarkable victories in their history, I would suggest, if they do it.
Hampshire resuming 196 for 5, 50 ahead of Kent. That'd be a terrific win for Kent if they could get it. I think they're already pretty secure, but that would be a wonderful win if they could actually secure victory on that pitch.
Siddle bowls and Patel playing forward that. I think he'd try and get his bat inside the line eventually, but a bit of waste swing of some Siddles, making Chetan Patel look uncomfortable. It looked like a matter of time before he gets the edge. Patel does a bit of gardening. Should be glad to get back home after a long time ago. They've had a few days at home in the middle of autumn. They haven't been away from them all the time, but most of the time for the last 5 or 6 weeks they've been living out of suitcases away. Siddle comes in the bowl, and that's edge and caught a second slip. Well, it was coming. Patel is furious with himself, but in the end Siddle on play was just too good for him, and Simon Harmer put one down earlier. He's taken a very good catch there at second slip, and Chetan Patel goes for 6, and Essex actually might be 1 wicket away from victory. It remains to be seen whether they bother sending Ollie Allen Dolby out there, given that he didn't feel after aggravating the hamstring strain. It was described as precautionary, but hard to see really what the point is and asking him to run out there, go out there and start dashing between the wickets at this stage of the game.
Not in this situation. So might be the 1 more wicket to fall, and yeah, that was a tougher catch actually for Harmer than the one he dropped. It was lower, but he made no mistake, as if the 4 wickets behind him has just made it a lot easier. 4 for 63 Harmer's figures, by the way, now, and Siddle with 2 for 38. Yeah, very good performance by Essex, and on the verge of 6 out of 6 at Chelmsford. And I'm absolutely sure, Clive, that obviously with fewer home games being played now, if Essex were to beat Surrey at Chelmsford in September, 100% winning record at home in any championship season, I'm pretty sure would be a first, given that weather tends to play a part.
Worth looking up.
I think we'll leave it till September, but it's going to be something that certainly will be worth researching. I wonder if the great Surrey side of the 50s ever did anything like that, but they played so many more games. Yeah. It'll be a very interesting one. We'll have a look at that. But on the face of it, you think, on average, with poor drainage facilities in the old days, you're going to have to use one of those games for the weather, even with the great sides like the Surrey side from the 50s.
So the new man out is Ollie Stone, of course.
Yeah.
And it was the end of the over, so Harmer's now bowling to Burgess, who's out on the offside. There's no run. I'm sure Burgess would like to chalk off a half century if you can. You'll have to hit a couple of blows to do it. It's on 37. And got a slip, a leg slip, and a short leg. And he's lofted that one in the air. That's a terrific shot, I tell you what. That was a beautiful shot. He's picked that up and played that over long on that sail over the rope for 6. Well, if he plays like this in T20, then the Bears might have just got themselves a bit of an asset here.
Yes, maybe actually, it's quite a serious point. It might as well Warwickshire have a little bit of a sort of dart in terms of getting some T20 form.
It puts him on to 43, 189 for 8. This one has gone right through, it's gone through everything. It's going to go for 4 something. Might just have brushed his pads on the way. Oh yeah, no, he's brushed his bat. He's got 4 runs for that. So that takes him to 47. So a little personal landmark looming potentially for Michael Burgess on his Warwickshire debut. He's got a couple of first-class centuries to his name with Sussex. Now homing in on a half century here. It's better than a run of ball. 43 balls for his 47. 193 for 8. Scoreboard can't keep up. Harmer bowls, and that's all. That too. Well, there's a bit of a gift from Harmer that time. He hasn't really taken it with 2 men out in the deep. He played within himself a little bit there, Burgess, and has rolled it out to the leg side boundary area. Well, Suka picks it up and he gets a single. He puts on to 48. How many balls Harmer? Well, Harmer's got 2 balls left. Burgess will hope Stone survives them to give him a chance of getting his 50. He survives the first one by defending it back. Stone's no mug with the bat by any means. But he's up against Simon Harmer. And 3 men round the bat. Next wicket could win it for Essex. That's pushed out the onside. There's no run. It'll be one of those situations where you can't quite. You're not going to immediately, spontaneously celebrate the victory. You'll have to wait and see whether number 11 marches out or not. 194 for 8 at the end of that over.
It's a bit like most televised one-day games these days, isn't it? You have an umpire to do for a plum LBW for a number 11.
Lying on the ground, or
everybody's walked off and they're still reviewing it. Yeah, it's all tightening up in Division 2 with those results, and it really is now quite a scramble for the. Well, with Glamorgan losing, Glamorgan being dragged back actually in a scramble for the 2nd and 3rd promotion spots with Lancashire away and clear.
I wouldn't rule out the team. They're 10th, It's that close, seriously, it's that close. They're only about 20 points behind.
Middlesex beating Glamorgan by 256 runs, and there were 5 wickets for Toby Rowland Jones, and there were also 3 for Souter.
You would think that Middlesex, having got their act together, would be strong contenders. Might stop them moaning for a while. Peter Siddle comes into bowl, and that's solidly played by Burgess, who wants a quick run, but that would have been, I don't know why he thought he was going to get that one. That was played straight to mid-on. Alright, he took the pace off the ball, but there was no chance of a run there, and fortunately he realises that in time and goes back. So, 194 for 8. The wicket were to fall now, and Ollie Handleby weren't to come out. Margin of victory would be a fairly whopping 206 runs. Fiddle, right arm over, bowls. Oh, he's swatted that in the end through long off, slight fielding error. Might get him his 50 actually. He comes back for the 2nd run, and there's a 50 for Michael Burgess. He was coming down forward to play it. It was wider than he expected. He stretched for it, he got it away. Muted celebration from Burgess, but that's a decent effort. I know it's in a losing cause. It's not going to make the headlines, but it's still a nice way to start his Warwickshire career. Half century on his Warwickshire debut. He's 50 not out, 196 for 8.
Well, it was a nice little partnership with Brooks, wasn't it, before lunch? Half century stand, it was very enterprising batting.
Just that muted celebration makes me think Burgess thinking, no, I'll just muted celebration, I've got to get another 200 runs yet to win the game. Then I'll celebrate.
Certainly right.
He will. I'll celebrate then if he does that. Fiddle trying to wrap this up to Burgess, who plays a good, correct shot. The field well spread out. The goals are most likely to stop that one, and that could be the firing line as the throw comes in. But he's through for 1. He's on to 51. We did. I heard from the commentary. I think we might have had a goal dazed in the game of Southampton. I'm not sure it was quite completely defeated, but it was somewhat dazed.
They don't often get hit, do they? They
No, it
usually
happens
escape and get out of the way.
So when you see the groundsman on with a spade, you know, it's no problem.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
197 for 8. So Ollie Stone on Specsavers. Now, well, again, going for that par, I think Siddle will bang it in short. Hope to get the catch at short leg. It worked pretty well in the first innings for a couple of Warwickshire's tail enders. It's got 4 slips in place as well. I have a feeling the end is nigh here, however. Here we go, Siddle bowls, and that's gone right through. So right passes outside edge, he played forward for that, the wicketkeeper takes it, and there is no run. Been really impressed with Peter Siddle in this game. I've seen him a few times, seen him when he's been less effective, but in this match I think, right from the word go, even when the wickets weren't necessarily coming from him, he was always causing problems, always asking questions and looking good.
Northants beat Derbyshire, but there's an interesting game going on between Durham and Worcestershire, which still could go either way. Worcestershire there were at 1.56 for 5.
Siddle in, and that's nicely played by Ollie Stone. Round his pads for a single, so he gets off the mark, and Warwickshire to 198 for 8.
Now 147 for 5 Worcestershire. Barnard and Cox sharing that unbeaten 6th wicket partnership. Chris Rushworth has all 5 wickets, 5 for 19 in 17 overs. And that's important in the context of the Division 2 table for the winner of that game there between Durham and Worcestershire, because obviously it will be a 16-point ad for whoever comes out on top in that game. We'll just have a quick look at that Division 2 table in a second, because it makes interesting reading.
Contender for one of the better bowlers not to play for England, Chris Rushworth. In comes Siddle with 2 slips in place. The Burgess is short, and Burgess has done really well there. 2 men out in the deep for the miscued pull shot. He's pulled it straight into the ground and into space and got himself a nice 2 runs. He's on to 53. He's also brought the 200 up for Warwickshire.
Yes, Lancashire firmly in charge now, 157 with 4 to go. Glamorgan with their defeat, 130. And we've got Northants on 116 and Middlesex 114. But should Durham win, they'll actually go in between those 2 sides. Such is the tightness of the table. I mean, Derbyshire on 109, Sussex going backwards on 100, and they'll actually be overtaken by Worcestershire should they win. So it just underlines your point there, Clive, but really it's wide open, and there'll be a lot of interest in Division 2 in the closing weeks of the season. Lancashire and 2 others at the moment.
Minor triumphs, but that last 50, the 450, is the quickest 50 by either side in the match. That block has come in 49 balls. They lost 2 wickets in the process. Harmer comes into bowl. That's played down nicely by Stone. I think that'd be the quickest 100 block as well. The third 100 taking 116 balls. Harmer gives that a bit of air. Well, that's locked up in the air. Don't let that come off the bat. Essex think it has, and the umpire does not. Essex didn't even appeal. Might have been a little kidology there. Harmer sort of walked into the field as if, well, that's definitely out. Don't need to have to appeal for that even. Batter stayed where he was. Umpire not interested, and I think, well, it's not out is the call anyway. That's what matters. So Stone survives. It's probably not going to be the most pivotal decision of the season. Harmer round the wicket, comes into bowl, and that's played out to the offside. There's no run.
I hope you'll feel we've given Warwickshire quite a lot of credit in this match. Not just saying that because I see Somerset's next game is Warwickshire away. So Essex fans are looking for Warwickshire to do well in that one.
But, sort of a little way away,
yes.
What sort of effect that Somerset defeat will have on their morale. That's played at the onside, there's no run. As I said, they always have that little extra tension because they know they've never actually won the championship. They've come close quite a few times. Quite managed to get over the line. Harmer bowls, and that's caught behind this time, is it? Yes. Well, Stone feels he's been a bit done there. He's not happy, but the umpire's finger goes up, and he's out now. It's at the end of the game. We wait to see. There's some drinks being brought on for the Essex fielders. Certainly Burgess is not coming off, although he is looking towards the changing room. Stone is caught behind for 1. It's 200 for 9. Well, I'm going to have to ask you, Nick, but I don't know if I'll be back or not.
Yes, we shall see. Certainly, still got the non-striker out there. Simon Harmer has done it again for 5 wickets, 5 for 74 in 26 overs and 5 balls, 64 wickets for the season. He could well, I think he's going to beat his haul from 2017 if Essex win the championship. And Will Battleman there, who's done a pretty good job there behind the stumps, coming in for Adam Wheater. Will be fascinating to see if Wheater's fit for Thursday. May well not be. It's a very short turnaround, and so we are going to see Hannon Dolby. So we're not quite all over yet. Yeah, the next game for Somerset is Warwickshire away, while Essex go to Canterbury, which I predict will be a very flat pitch. I don't think Canterbury are going to want to make it easy for Essex to win the championship. I think it'll be a very flat wicket. And then we have in mid-September Essex playing Warwickshire at home, and Somerset playing Yorkshire also at home. That starts the 10th of September. Then we go to Monday the 19th of September, and Somerset go down to the GS Bowl, which certainly from what I've seen of it in the championship this season has been a pretty flat wicket. So that might be quite a challenge. Essex plays Surrey at Chelmsford. Will Essex make it these perfect 7 from 7? Will Surrey get their revenge for that defeat that Essex got at the Oval at the end of last year? And then finally, Somerset against Essex at Taunton. And I suppose we keep an eye on Yorkshire. Yorkshire's last game is Warwickshire away, actually, at Edgbaston. So Warwickshire actually have quite a lot of involvement between now and the end of the season in what's going on. Hannon Dolby is there, and he's with Burgess. Burgess has really played very nicely. 53 from 48 balls in the circumstances. It's been a fine effort from him. But Simon Harmer, the opportunity of making it a 6-wicket haul. The flurry of gulls now circulate the left-hand side of the ground as if they're looking for something of great interest. I'm not quite sure what it is, but they've all suddenly arrived. They're piling in on the left-hand side of the ground, about 15 of them, as here the first ball faced by Hannon Dolby is just played defensively up towards mid-off. It's the end of Harmer's over, 5 for 74 in 27, and Gulls just making their way away. The Warwickshire 200 is up, wicket maiden for Harmer. It is 200 for 9. The only problem is they're only halfway there, Paul.
Yes, Clive has waved me in, and he's come away to do his 2 o'clock update, and so I might as well come in with only 1 wicket left. Thank you to Clive. Yeah, Harmer 65 for the season now, 8 wickets in this match, and he won't, you know, even if he has a terrific time in the last 4, he won't quite get to 100, but he would have done, I think, Nick, if we had 16 games rather than the 14 that are there now. I fancy him to do it with those extra games. But even so, he only needs another 8 more to surpass his 72 wickets in 2017. Really has had a terrific season.
Well, I think Burgess is going to give it a little bit of a dart here against Siddle. Just plays the first ball way to deep mid-wicket, as if he's intending to bat till 6 o'clock, because he turns down the clear single that's on offer. There is a slip, and there is nobody else basically within immediate vision. We've got basically I think everybody else back on the boundary. There's a mid-wicket, just see where they're going to end up, maybe about 2/3 of the way back. But they're giving Burgess a single absolutely anywhere that he wants it. Everybody apart from the slip is in fact on the boundary. So here is Siddle bowling, and this is a pull shot which goes to deep square leg, and because it doesn't go for 4, he keeps the strike. So it's been a fine effort from him, but he's got 4 hours to do this, Paul. It's going to be quite a test for him.
Could be a keepy-uppy by Tom Wesley in the distance. Mid-wicket, the ball before that, when he must have kept it up on about 7 or 8 kicks at it. So any football teams struggling to get a large enough squad, they might care to make an offer for Tom's services during the winter.
So 200 for 9. And here's Siddle again, bowling, and a pull shot from Burgess goes on a couple of bounces out towards deep square leg, and again he turns down the opportunity of a single, and it remains 200 for 9. Bright sunshine, pretty warm, not quite as hot as I thought maybe the forecast suggested, but pleasant enough, and spectators enjoying the sunshine here, and ending of course this run of 4 games out of 5 here at Chelmsford. And of course the T20 campaign will visit Chelmsford on Friday night after the game at Lord's on Thursday, where Essex will be the first side to play, along with Middlesex, at the home of the T20, home of the 50 over World Cup final. That played defensively, a slow ball played defensively up towards deep, long on, and Siddle will probably be thinking, if I do play in the Ashes, I won't be bowling many overs like this, I don't think. But anyway, 200 for 9.
And of course it could be, if they did use the strip that had been used for the World Cup on Sunday, that both sides will score under 100.
That's the one downside of it. It sounds like a good idea, and it would be an honour, of course, to play on it. But of course, it is just another used pitch when push comes to shove. 200 for 9 is a bouncer, and it's left alone. So the key result of the day, we have just joined us. Yorkshire summarily beating Somerset. Tremendous performance by Yorkshire. And they've dominated the game from start to finish. Just to let you know, by the way, that Durham have broken that 6th wicket Worcestershire partnership. So you've got to fancy Durham now. Durham will be right in the mix, and it's great to see, actually, all the problems they've had. Absolutely in the mix now, Durham. And
because a lesser club might have gone under altogether after the savage treatment from the ECB.
Wins for Northampton, Middlesex as well in Division 2. That's quite a long way outside the off-stump, and it's a no ball. And Peter Siddle must be wondering, actually, Simon, could you just finish this in the last over? Because this is, well, he'll probably just try and bowl one straight up in the block hole and hope that Burgess tries to maybe carry. He's now got the field up, you see, because they're coming for the end of the over. So maybe Burgess will try and clear the field and thereby make a mistake.
Well, there's been a bit of afters in the over, nothing terribly sensational or anything. But Siddle and Burgess exchanged words after the previous one to the one just bowled.
Here's Siddle again, up to the wicket, bowls, almost a useful delivery, which
what plays as misses,
right up in the block hole. He's going for it, thinking he might be going for the shot, maybe over the top, but he's actually been fortunate not to have his off stump knocked out of the ground on that occasion. So, that's the end of the over. Warwickshire 202 for 9, so still 199 away from that victory target, and Essex with most of these 2 sessions to get this one remaining wicket.
General consensus in the press box next door before play started today was that Essex had wrapped it up by 3 o'clock. Robin Hobbs amongst those went for 3 o'clock, and in order that he wouldn't be too embarrassed if the game finished much earlier, I went for 5:50. So
did you name a winner?
No one winner. No, I didn't know. Well, yes, I did. I said Essex by 18 runs. Yes. So nobody will remember, if the next wicket goes down quickly, that nearly everybody next door was the better part of an hour out, because they'll remember me being about 3.5 hours out. But I thought Warwickshire's approach, and they've done it in other games, would be, to get their heads down and really frustrate Essex for the day, but actually it hasn't gone that way.
Here's Harmer bowling, and to play defensively by Hannon Dobby. I see Warwickshire have yet to play, obviously, Somerset, we mentioned that's their next game at Edgbaston. They've also got Yorkshire at Edgbaston, and they've got Essex at Edgbaston. It's an interesting end of the season for them, but at least they're playing at home more. This is played defensively just into the offside, and there is no run.
I mean, I think, for all the fact that Warwickshire look as though they'll lose very heavily here, but I think if they could bat first in the fixture with Somerset at Edgbaston and get their heads down, I could see that being a tricky game.
Harmer bowling just turns past the off stump and left alone by Hannon Dobby. Doesn't offer a shot to that one. By the way, just thanks for all the emails over the last couple of days. Been a tremendous response, and
thank you very much.
Also, of course, in this long batch of Championship cricket, and I was just thinking, Paul, as Harmer bowls, this is to squeeze away into the offside. I just wonder whether this is the longest run in terms of time of 4-day games for any Championship cricket, not being interrupted by a round of 1-day games of any sort since 1962. As Harmer bowls, and this is played defensively up towards City Point. That was 63 the Gillette Cup started, so the rounds would have been about a month apart because it was the only 1-day competition. It's certainly for a very long time.
It is a good point you make, because this is the 5th consecutive game in a row, week by week.
There's 202 for 9, that's played defensively up into the offside, and there's no run. I mean, possibly in the 60s there might have been periods of Championship cricket, but of course the Championship started later then, so in terms of time it's certainly an interesting one. But
a little bit of credit to the ECB on this one particular issue. I don't often give them credit, but there's been a lot of clamour for more Championship games in the height of summer, And this year we've had that, so thank you for that. You know, it is nice not to have everything crammed into April and September.
Yeah, this year they've done well. Next year is the test.
Yes,
I'm not going to have a chance to talk to Clive about it, because I do think the 50 overs will be devalued if you're using 100 best players for a test.
Definitely.
But that's a debate we're probably not going to have a chance to have until September. But we shall see. And interesting to see basically what sort of effect it has on the domestic programme. 202 for 9, Siddle bowls, just played in the end by Burgess, just plays a little defensive stroke which runs into the huge gap because there's only the slip, there's nobody else saving one, he turns down the single.
You'll like this one, Nick, but I'm just reminded when you mentioned September there, I think it was Carol King had a hit with It Might As Well Rain Until September, and with no more with no more championship cricket until we're almost in September, it could be a very appropriate song if you're not of the T20 persuasion.
It's been a good schedule this year. Siddle bowls and driven away firmly up towards deep cover. The T20 is starting a couple of weeks late and ending a couple of weeks later than would be ideal, but it's probably been forced by the 50 over World Cup to be in this slot. But the 50 over competition early season has come up trumps again, and I've already seen a few tweets from people saying there's an issue here. We've just won the World Cup and we're going to stop playing frontline 50 over cricket.
Ridiculous.
I think that won't last more than a couple of years.
Yeah, I hope
there is
right.
a way around it, which we'll talk about.
I love 50 over cricket.
Yeah, 202 for 9, and this is played back down the pitch, and there's no run. I'm sure with Mr. Kevin Hand, we'll get into that subject between the innings, not during the game, but between the innings maybe at Lord's on Thursday, because he's very keen to chat about that. And the goals are back, and they're sort of going left to right. One's gone the opposite direction, but they're generally marching left to right, pecking at the outfield. It's like what you see at the Oval a lot towards the end of the day. As Siddle bowls, and this is a big extravagant attempt at a pull shot. He misses and it goes through the battlement. And Essex's wicket-keeping woes this season. We have had one email, I'm sure you saw it, referring to James Foster. The irony, of course, that this is the year after Foster's retirement. But you know, if we were to be missing for a chunk of the T20 campaign, that would actually upset the balance of the side in terms of Wheater's ability to score quickly as a keeper.
Yeah, no, you're right there. I personally would rather see him bat in the middle order than be sent in as a pinch hitter at the start.
Seen one or two people suggesting number 3 for him, as this is played away slightly uppish, but they're going to take a single because we're well into the over now. I think that was the fifth ball of the over, so straightforward option to take a single.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have him at 3. No. I think you need him to come in the Clouter's position at 6 and 7.
The finisher.
Yeah, that's right, because he's unselfish, he'd give it the works, and that's what Essex have been lacking, really. Trouble is, if you send in a pinch hitter, as we saw time and again, well, we've seen it all ever since the T20 began, Essex have always gone with the pinch hitter idea. They've never won the competition, and if you do send in pinch hitters, you end up, instead of having a 20 over innings where hopefully one person who goes into open is still there at the finish, you end up with 2 halves and nobody faces more than about 25 to 30 balls, and you miss out on someone who gets hundreds. And there are 1 or 2 exceptions, but I'm hoping Simon Harmer, I'd love to see one of the first things he did as captain would be to say to Tender Scarter, "You're opening, mate."
Right, we've got 3 slips to Alan Dolby for the 1 delivery, and he manages to negotiate it okay, leaving it outside the off stump. So it's just a matter of time here. Essex have done the job this morning. Peter Siddle actually made the initial breakthrough, getting rid of the impressive Banks, who made a really very impressive maiden 50. He couldn't add to it. And then Simon Harmer dropped a catch, probably felt a bit annoyed with himself, and promptly took 2 wickets in his next over and 4 in the space of 20 deliveries, and that has effectively settled the game.
I felt that last ball of the Siddle over was the wrong ball to have bowled. He dug it in short, and Hannon Dolby knew that all he had to do was not play at it, and he'd survive. The ball he should have bowled for me was the one he did bowl last ball of the previous over that you ordered against Burgess. It was a really good Yorker, because Burgess is accomplished, he kept it out, but it might have been too good, the similar delivery, had it been bowled to Hannon Dolby.
So, possible win for Kent today. They're Only 69 behind Hampshire, who are 215 for 6 in their second innings now at the Aegeus Bowl. It's the one remaining Division 1 game.
Yeah, just to make that clear,
towards mid-wicket.
Just to make that clear, Hampshire is 69 ahead.
Yeah, that's right.
But obviously, only 4 wickets left.
Yeah, as Harmer bowls. Attempted swipe away down the ground here by Burgess, but it's come off an inside edge. They've taken the single, so he's sort of trusting Alan Dalby for a bit longer of this Harmer over than he was against Siddle. In fact, did they run there? I thought they'd run. No, it's a bit wrong. Clipped away down towards mid-wicket, and there's no run to cancel that. I thought it would have been a bit of a surprise had he taken the single. Plays the next one up towards mid-wicket, and there's no run.
Yeah, he got about 4 yards down the track.
I was looking for the ball, and I saw he'd set off.
Yeah, I remember where he was, yes.
Harmer still bowling to Burgess then, and now he'll probably look for the single or get the boundary, but he plays it out towards deep square leg and takes the single off the 4th ball, so leaves 2 deliveries for Hannon Dalby to face.
Yes, Michael Burgess is batting like a man who has entered some sort of lottery where you have to predict how many your side will get and exactly at what point the game will end, because he's played some fabulous shots, you know, for 6 in the innings, but all of a sudden he's turned down, I think by now, double-figured number of runs he could have had, and is generally just trying not to get out.
Right, we've got 4 around the bat, including a city point and a short leg, and here Hannon Dalby just stretches forward to that and just runs down. He might have come off the open face, not sure. Runs down to Cook. He's still down his haunches at slip, as if that wasn't too far away from him.
Don't think it was a chance.
No, it certainly wasn't a chance, but just Hannon Dalby, a left-hander, facing one more ball of this over. Gets a flighted delivery and plays it well enough, actually, back down the pitch. And Harmer actually does a little bit of football and
keep it up
into his hands. He says at 5 for 75 from 29 overs, and Burgess has 55, and Hannon Dalby has no score, and it's 204 for 9.
Well, they say all cricketers are frustrated footballers, and it's certainly true in some cases. I did note that England, part of England's warm-up before the World Cup final, Nick was playing football. Now, a lot of people would think that was ridiculous, but actually, if you remember, Essex used to play a lot of football before games in the Paul Grayson, Mark Patini captaincy era, and then it was sort of outlawed. Now I think actually, for all the objections, as Beard comes into the attack, for all the objections to cricketers playing football, I do think it's good for team spirit, and Essex had the goals out in front of us. That's the goals, not the goals, and you know, as I say, you will probably get the old twisted ankle and so on doing it, and it looks a bit ridiculous if you pick up a footballing injury as a cricketer, but I do think it's good for team spirit.
Indeed. So Aaron Beard, who tends to get wickets early in his spells, 1 for 35 in 10 overs here. We talked about his impressive strike rate this season and his average. You can improve that yet further with a wicket here, but he's got a bowl to Burgess, who goes on the drive and plays nicely away through the covers. That will go to the rope. It's perfectly placed. We've got all the fielders on the boundary, but there was nobody extra cover on the boundary, and that's where he's hit it. So 208 for 9, and he's gone to 59 with that shot. It's been a fine effort from him.
Had an email from Lucifer Satan, who was saying earlier, why do the commentators pronounce Siddle? We'll come back to that after this ball.
So a slipper, nobody else saving one at all. So here, this is the delivery. It's quite wide from Beard. Burgess backs away, trying to hit it probably more or less in the same direction, but this time misses it, and it goes through to Buttleman behind the stumps.
Yeah,
it still looks a bit uncomfortable actually, but looking at his facial expressions.
Lucifer Satan then wrote back, I'd suggested that perhaps it was his ear that was a little bit out, but he said reasonably enough that perhaps it's the acoustics then, and he did say that his wife, presumably a she-devil, had also thought that we were pronouncing Sybil, so we'll put it down to the acoustics.
Here's a shot, and very, very good one as well by Burgess. This has been a fine innings. He's picked that up over sort of wide mid-wicket for 4. There's a sort of a deeper deep, straighter mid-wicket, but he's found the gap between that fielder and the deep square leg. So he's actually, with that pick-up shot, which could have gone straight to a fielder, but he's actually placed it really well. It has bounced short of the boundary, gone into the boards in front of the public seats, but good placement and 4 more runs to him. He's gone to 63, 212 for 9.
Yeah, it can't be a lot of fun actually bowling to him in this situation.
Yeah.
There's not much wrong with the pitch. He's playing thoroughly well, picking the right deliveries to try and hit, and meanwhile a few bowling figures are going to be quite badly dented.
It's a sort of situation where if the target was 300 rather than 400, you wouldn't be worried yet, but if it carried on for a while, it would become a little bit of a cause for anxiety. But Essex don't have to worry about that, I don't think. And now Alistair Cook, who's in a position of first slip, has now gone to deep square leg to allow that mid-wicket to come in. So there's two deep mid-wickets, and this time he picks it up and hits it to the straighter of the two deep mid-wickets and gets a single. So they decided that they didn't even want Cook at slip there. They wanted to have four men basically saving, in fact, five, including the fine leg, on the boundary on the leg side. So we had absolutely everyone there, apart from Battleman, on the boundary. But now, with a single having been taken, it's the opposite, as everyone comes in with Hannon Dalby on strike, and with a couple of deliveries now for Beard to get his second wicket.
Well, Cook there, suffering the indignity of having to be posted on the boundary, is now taking his time to come back and move into slip for Hannon Dalby. And in fact he may not even be going to, oh in fact Cook it will be slip, but he's in the meantime ferrying the helmet to Ryan Tedder Scarter, who for Hannon Dalby is he's going to field at short leg.
Yes, just a moment I thought Mr. Arthur was going to field there, but no, he's gone back to the relative safety of first slip. Tender Scarter coming in at short leg. There's now three slips and a short leg and a short square leg as well, and that's a delivery quite wide at the leg stump, and it's not the delivery Beard wanted at all. And even in a situation where the match is effectively done, I think doing the bowling at the moment, there is another wicket out there somewhere, but it's a question of being patient and just waiting for it to actually happen.
And if it wasn't what Beard wanted, it certainly wasn't what Battleman wanted either, the wicketkeeper, because he ended up diving a long way to his right and stopping that with his damaged right hand.
213 for 9. Still that short leg and three slips, and Hannon Dalby plays a perfectly competent defensive shot. And well, that's interesting because mid-off is running back, encouraging Hannon Dalby to take the single, which of course he would have allowed. Could have tried to run him out, of course, but Hannon Dalby was having none of that, and has stayed at the non-strikers end for the new over. Burgess 64 from 68 balls, Hannon Dalby 0 from 12, 213 for 9.
So, stubborn last wicket partnership here. Should think they've taken about 18 minutes so far, and Michael Burgess has moved on. I think he was more or less exactly 50 at the point the ninth wicket went down. It's on to 64, and he's turned down quite a few runs he could have had into the bargain. Simon Harmer waits, hands behind his back, to come in and bowl his 30th over.
It'll be Harmer to bowl to Burgess, who comes down the pitch, and Battleman has stumped him. Well, that's the end of the game, and Harmer has got 6 wickets. 6 for 75 in 29 overs and 1 ball, and Burgess gave him the charge there, looking to try and hit him into the Tom Pearce stand, and Battleman, even though he's in a bit of discomfort, was sensing that that was a moment for him, and indeed it was, and he produced a fairly straightforward but adept piece of stumping with the batsman out of his ground, having come down the pitch to try and play a shot. And well done to Battleman, who's done a good stand-in job for Adam Wheater. Particularly well done to Simon Harmer. 6 for 75 for Harmer in that innings, taking him now what to 66 wickets for the season. And another tremendous match for Simon Harmer. Took 2 for 68 in the first innings, add Alistair Cook's 84 and 83 in particular, and the formula is there for Essex this season at Chelmsford. It has been very much about Cook and particularly Harmer. 6 wins out of 6, 4 points clear in the table.
No, you were right, it's 65. I've given him one too many previously. It is 65 now, you're quite right, my apologies. But it's still terrific effort from Simon Harmer, and really Burgess, if he didn't hit that, had sold himself for all money. Battleman was able to stop the ball in his glove and just hold it there for a moment before he whipped off the bails, and Essex, I make that 187 run margin, Nick.
Yes, exactly, because 400 was what they had to get to draw level, which makes it well, a little bit easier than it would be otherwise.
Yes.
A margin of 187 runs. Warwickshire at times fought hard in the game. Go back to various points. I think a good fight back by Warwickshire yesterday, and